Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm, and you are watching what if Naruto was trained by his parents who became Shinigami. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
A woman, approximately 5 feet 10, with brown hair, green eyes, and a white bandage covering her forehead, entered the village of Konoha 4 years after the Kyuubi no Kitsune attack. She quickly made her way into the village and into the Hokage Tower. "No, miss, what is this mission you needed to speak to me about in private?" the Hokage asked when she was brought before him. The lady sighed and replied, "My name is Kayla and I am here looking for my fiancé. I know that this may not seem like it is a sensitive matter, but with what happened it is no." The third individual replied, "Perhaps it would be best if you started from the beginning." Kayla gave a nod and stated, "Before I begin, I want you to hear me out before getting upset or making assuming anything. I have come here in peace and plan to leave in peace." The woman asked, "What do you actually know about the Kyuubi that attacked this village 4 years ago?" After the third person nodded. Unprepared for this kind of discussion, the third responded, "Nothing except what is generally known." Why? Kayla explained, "My father arranged a political marriage between me and my fiancée the day I was born. It was in hopes that our land and the one I was to marry would join in a peaceful life together. The person I was supposed to marry was Kyuubi." Stunned, the third said, "I don't understand. I swear I think all Hokages are dense." Kayla sighed. "Arashi said the same thing last month." The third let out a startled "Arashi." Kayla replied, "Yes, before I came here I went to Soul Society to talk with Naruto's parents Arashi Kazama and Annette Kazama." "I don't understand," the third said, glancing at her. Kayla looked him in the eye and replied, "I will spell it out for you. I am from Makia, or as you humans call it, Demon World. I am the princess of the Darkness Flames Kingdom. There it is a small kingdom. I am a demon." The third was defensive and on the verge of calling a BNU, but he decided against it for the time being because the woman never moved or attempted anything. The third person sat back down and asked, "What exactly do you want?" Kayla replied, "How much do you know about Annette Kazama?" After giving it some thought, the third person remarked, "I only met her a few times and Arashi kept all information on her secret for her protection." Why? After she calmed down, Kayla said, "Then you don't know what she does for a living or what her job is, do you?" Kayla had just started laughing. With a bewildered expression, the third said, "I thought she was dead. If you will allow me, I have a letter in my pocket here from her and Arashi that might explain a few things. May I?" Kayla shook her head and gestured to her pocket. The third nodded, but beneath the desk he was holding a kunai. After taking out a scroll, Kayla placed it on his desk and sat down again. When the third picked up the scroll and saw the seal on it, he went pale. It was Arashi Kazama's seal. The fourth Hokage. He opened it quickly and read it. "Hello, elderly man, I'll do my best to explain, but I know it will take some time. Kayla is the woman who handed this to you. She won't attack, but she is a demon, so don't get caught up in it. She came to Soul Society, where all spirits are judged and then sent to the afterlife, or in my case, join them. After learning about the sealing, she had come looking for her fiancé, Kyuubi. Although this may sound absurd, my wife is not what you would consider normal, which is why I haven't shared much about her with you. Oh no, she struck me in any case. She is the Shinigami's Squad 62's second-class captain. We fell in love after I helped nurse her back to health after she was attacked by some hollows. In summary, we were married and had a son named Naruto. Anyway, let's get back to why I'm writing. She is compelled to wed Naruto now because of the arranged marriage and the politics involved, since he is legally the new Lord of Gugen in the demon world. How can I now explain this and the reasons behind it? In essence, I needed assistance with the sealing, so I called in a Shinigami. Unfortunately, the person I called was a complete moron, and instead of doing the sealing correctly, he made a mistake and sealed all of Kyuubi's power into Naruto and his abilities, but not Kyuubi himself. As far as we can tell, the process destroyed him ordinarily. This would be advantageous and serve as a kind of bloodline for Naruto, but because his body had to change to accommodate the new powers and abilities, he was essentially 1/3 human, 1/3 demon, and 1/3 Shinigami. This is where things start to improve according to what I've been told. This is essentially the first time this has ever occurred in history. His life should revolve around each of these aspects, but because they all strive for dominance, he is essentially a hybrid of a demon, a human, and a Shinigami. Anyway, I'm losing my train of thought. Kayla will need to undergo a ceremony to essentially match Naruto's lifespan in order for them to age together. In other words, she will become the same age as him due to the way Makia handles marriages. She is roughly 1 year older than Naruto in our time, but in the demon world, she is around 15 years old. This is because she was too young to do the sealing with Kyuubi. I initially asked why she had to marry him, especially since she had 2 other arrangements, and I was told that it was because if she didn't, she would be killed and her kingdom would be destroyed because a demon is honor-bound to follow its word to the letter. That's not a problem for me, but I was informed that Naruto only has 12 years left before other demons can kill him and seize his territory while it is illegal to harm a child. The same laws will treat him as an adult and make him a target when he turns 12. You ought to see where this is headed, in my opinion. He will be the target, and Konoha will be the target as well. OWWW, I should let you know that my wife is furious because she hit me again. The only reason she hasn't led her division to Konoha and killed almost everyone there is because our village has masked Naruto's spiritual energy, making it safer for him there. We have heard reports of what has been happening to Naruto, but we haven't been able to get involved yet due to the threat he faces from the Shinigami enemies, the Hollows. However, Naruto will draw the Hollows as he ages and gains more control over the original Kyuubi's power, necessitating training. If someone attacks him after he starts training to fight Hollows, it turns into an attack on a Shinigami, and any or all of them will come to pass judgment. When I mentioned that my wife was furious, I should also mention that she has a lot of influence here and that more than 3/4 of the Shinigami want to introduce themselves with their swords after learning about his treatment. In any case, Naruto has 2 additional arrangements to get married. As I mentioned a minute ago, my wife had arranged one for a normal human girl, and another for a Shinigami child. However, due to his new title, he now also has a demon one. I'll let Kayla explain why Kyuubi attacked, as I had to hit my head against a wall as a result. In essence, I need you to let Naruto go with Kayla for the time being so he can start training to defend himself against demons in Makia, my wife, and I will also visit him there to train him when the time is appropriate. Since he is still human, don't worry about him, he will return to be a ninja. Simply put, he will have many formidable adversaries and be extremely strong. You should inform the village and the council of his true birth name and let them know that the Shinigami has agreed to let me train him. He will return for his age group graduations, and he will be going by his name and have all the rights to any title he has. They will be terrified by that. KUKUKUKUKUHAHAHAHAHAOWWW. Why can't women ever allow you to be evil and seek retribution for not fulfilling my last wish? Anyway, I'll talk to you later, old man. Kazama Yandiemi Arashi. Shinigami, Squad 62's second class private. The third said, okay, exactly why did Kyuubi attack? As he raised his head from the letter. Well, we were going to be married less than a week later and we found out he could not hold his liquor, Kayla said with a sheepish smile. Don't tell me, the third said, slapping his head. Kayla replied, yes, he got stone-ass drunk for his bachelor party and came here and got his ass killed. I am getting too old for this shit, sighed the third. I guess I really don't have a choice because you could not fake that seal. He hit a button and said, get me Kakashi and tell him if he is not here fast I will ban ICHA Paradise from this village. A puff of smoke appeared 3 minutes later, followed by a BNU wearing a wolf's mask, who said, you needed to see me a moment, sir. With a nod, the third said, get me Naruto. After nodding, the ABNU vanished and reappeared 10 minutes later carrying a bloodied and bruised Naruto. The ABNU said, I got there in time. A riot had started because he wanted something to eat. He then sensed that the third person had killed him, and then he felt another, even more powerful one from the woman who had been sitting a minute earlier, now holding Naruto and tending to his wounds. With a blink, the ABNU asked, sir, who is this? He's fine now, Kayla said, pausing as her hands turned green. As he gave Kakashi the scroll, the third nodded and said, Kakashi, read this and read who signed it before you read the whole thing and I will tell you it is from him. After blinking repeatedly, Kakashi's good eye began to twitch. He turned to face the third person and exclaimed, why did you lie to me? The third rubbed his head and sighed, adding, I did it because I wanted to protect him from his father's enemies. Kakashi questioned, can we trust her? Kayla looked at him and replied, I already gave my word to his parents and I will do the same to you. I will not harm him. I am going to have him taught how to use his powers and how to defend himself from demons. I would do it myself, but I will have to undergo the ritual when we get there, so I will be the same age as him, so I will have to retrain my body. This is a secret about female demons, so please don't say anything about this, and when he returns I will be with him. From what I understand, when Arashi and Annette come to begin his training they will bring his Shinigami wife also, who is his age also. With a blink, Kakashi asked, do you know who his other wife is? Kayla replied, only thing I know about her is she is an older than him, but she could be a day or 100 years older. Sorry. When will you leave? Asked the third, who nodded. Kayla replied, as soon as I get anything you want me to take with us. We will both be coming back to be ninja of this village along with his other wife, but I should tell you now that should either Shinigami or demon business pop up that we will have to take care of it. A few minutes later, the third returned with a scroll and said, this is a storage scroll. All he has to do is wipe some blood on it and he can have whatever is in it. There are some books on strategy and village history as well as a scroll from me and a few E-rank jutsu to help him and his wives, so that way you all pass the graduate test. The third nodded and said, I will make sure that all three of you have that ability and that whoever is your sensei knows it. As for anything that he might need, give me a moment. Naruto and Kayla vanished in a whirl of black flames after Kayla nodded and lifted him up. After the third let out a sigh, Kakashi asked, so what will you do now? Do you still have any of those recording scrolls Jiraiya gave you the last time he was here? The third asked after giving it some thought. After giving it some thought, Kakashi replied, yes, why? The third individual replied, I want to remember the look on the council's face when they find out this news. Under his mask, Kakashi smiled and uttered, I want a copy of it. After the third nodded, Kakashi departed and came back with the scroll 20 minutes later. After that, Kakashi went to the memorial stone to pay his respects. With a sigh, the third glanced at the paperwork and then at the wall clock. The time for the daily council meeting is 2 o'clock, he thought. The third said, okay, what is on the agenda for today, as he sat down at the meeting. Danzo replied, I request that you allow me to take that demon child into route for training as a weapon for the village, Aegean. Hiashi stated, it is too dangerous to train him in case the seal breaks. The demon could get free and... The third interrupted him with a laugh. Hiashi asked, is everything okay? As everyone turned to face him. It's funny that this was the first order of business, especially after my meeting I had earlier today, the third person said, pausing his laughter. Everyone took notice of this, and Danzo exclaimed, what do you mean, you old fool? The third individual replied, you don't have to worry about Naruto, he is no longer in the village. Has he run away? Asked Hiashi. The hunter and ABNU must find him and kill him, a civilian council member stated. The third cried out, silence, he said, it's time, as everyone paused to stare at him. What's the time for? Danzo asked. The third individual replied, it's time you learn who and what Naruto really is and where he is now and when he will be back as well as his real name. The question was, what do you mean? The third replied, I guess it would be best if I started from the beginning. Naruto's last name is not Uzumaki. I made that up to protect him from his father's enemies. His real name is Kazama. Oh just wait, the third person said, as gasps echoed through the room. I knew who his mother is, but I didn't know where she came from, where she is now, or what she does for a living. Any guesses? Danzo was saying, we don't have time for games like this. That weapon is getting further away every second. The third individual replied, that boy is so far away no mortal can get him right now. That put an end to speculation about his whereabouts. Naruto's mother is Annette Kazama and she is a captain in the Shinigami, the third said, letting out a sigh and massaging his temple. This is what Hiashi said, I thought there was only one Shinigami. The third person looked at him and replied, no, the Shinigami from what I can tell are demigods. They fight an enemy called Hollows as well as Judge who gets to see Kami and whose soul is destroyed. Inoichi replied, you still have not explained where Naruto is and why he has left. The third replied, I received a scroll from Arashi today from a visitor who is connected to Naruto and I think you should all know what he told me in it. We have been wrong about the sealing's actual effects. Once one of the Shinigami was called the actual Kyuubi died that day. Bekwase, from what Arashi said, the one he summoned was an idiot and screwed the sealing up instead of sealing Kyuubi and his power in Naruto like we thought. The only thing that was sealed in him was all of the Kyuubi's power and all of his abilities. Hiashi stated, so in essence he became the new Kyuubi. I told you he should have been a weapon. I demand you, Danzo said, leaping to his feet. The third person stood up and said, you dare demand from me? The last time I checked I was still Hokage, or perhaps you would like to have this discussion with the Shinigami when they get here. Everyone looked at that, and Inoichi asked, what do you mean? The third let out a sigh and said, right now 3/4 of the entire Shinigami are ready to come here and wipe this village off the face of the planet because of the way we have been treating one of their own. Danzo replied, so their mad Bekwase, we picked on a child of one of them. The third replied, I never said that. I said we picked on one of their own. We picked on a Shinigami that is 1/3 of the training Naruto is now starting. Hiashi replied, perhaps you should explain this training to us so we can understand a little better. The third nodded and continued, Naruto will be getting trained on 3 different things, one being a Shinigami from his mother Annette. He will be getting trained to be a ninja from his father Arashi, and here is the one that I was surprised about, but he will also be trained to use the demon powers of the original Kyuubi. Danzo said, sounds like a perfect candidate for Root. When he gets back I will personally use him as a weapon. I don't think so, a voice from the rear of the room said. Everybody turned to see two black cloaked figures leaning against the wall, each carrying a large sword. Danzo replied, "Who are you to tell me what to do and how did you get here?" Everyone gasped when they saw Arashi Kazama, and the taller of the two pulled back his cloak. Arashi replied, "Well, I used to be the Yondaime Hokage, but now I am a Shinigami. This person beside me is my lovely wife. OWWW, do you have to hit so hard? I am already pissed off and killed those damn villagers already for attacking my son earlier, and now I am going to take this piece of shit out." Annette said. Pulling back her cloak, she moved faster than most people could see, and Danzo's head struck the wall before his body hit the ground. She basically scared the living daylights out of practically everyone there with that one move. She turned to say, as the third here was saying, "Naruto will be beginning his training to control his powers. Arashi and myself will be training him in our individual skills, and one of his fiancé has arranged for him to learn to use the Kyuubi's powers that were sealed in him. Now, on to business." As the third stated, "The Shinigami have not stepped in yet because this village was hitting his presence from hollows, but now you don't have that blanket of security, and if when her returns he is attacked or any of his fiancés are attacked, the penalty shall be the same as that fool's," pointing to the corpse of Danzo. "You can't force us to follow your orders," remarked a civilian. Arashi replied, "Actually we can, because as it stands right now, of the 3,200 villagers and ninja here, only 1,200 are not on schedule to be killed because of them attacking our son. I think the chance to redeem yourself and extend your mortal lives should be enough of interest for you to think about changing your habits. Don't you agree, Anthony?" The civilian sat down, pale. According to the third, "Well, I think that just about settles that." "What do you mean by fiancés, more than one?" asked Hiyashi. Annette replied, "Yes, Naruto will have 3 wives. One is a daughter of my best friend and fellow Shinigami. Her name is Crystal. One is a girl by the name of Kayla, and she is the princess of darkness flames, and the last is someone who shall remain nameless until he returns. Well, that is the message from the Shinigami we were told to deliver. Danzo was ordered killed Hokage because he was the one who ordered his route to start the riot earlier to force you to make Naruto a weapon. CYA. And suddenly Arashi as well as Annette was gone." With a sigh, the third said, "Meeting adjourned," and left, giving ABNU the order to tidy up the mess. As soon as the third returned to his office, he realized how the majority of the villagers would react. Therefore, he called in a number of ABNU and instructed them to speak to each council member, telling them not to bring up Arashi and Annette's appearance, that Naruto is a Shinigami, that all information regarding his training and abilities will be kept a secret, and that the third's law was still in force. Since they hated Naruto, word spread quickly that he was the Yondaime's son. Over the next few days, a number of residents and council members left town, which is foolish when you consider how you can flee death itself. With a sigh, Naruto remarked, "A hospital again," as he awoke to find himself in a cozy bed in a white room. "Why does this continue to occur for me?" His bed's foot uttered the words, "Because humans are idiots." A 19-year-old boy with black hair and black eyes caught Naruto's attention, and he blinked and said, "Huh." Fearing another attack, Naruto began to move away from the boy in bed. "Calm down," the boy said. "Naruto, you're safe now. I'm Yusuke, and this isn't a medical facility." "Where am I and what am I doing here?" asked Naruto. Yusuke replied, "You are in Makia, and the reason you are here is to train and prepare." Naruto replied, "Prepare for what and where is Makia and why am I not in the village?" Yusuke stated, "Makia is the true name for Demonworld, and why you are here, Naruto Kazama, is because your fiancé came and got you." "A fiancé?" Naruto inquired. "Do you know what a wife is?" asked Yusuke. Yusuke sighed and said, "She is someone who will live with you when you get older and have a family with." Naruto shook his head no. According to Naruto, like a sister or mom. You will become a father and she will become a mother as you grow older. Yusuke remarked, "Hiei owes me this, man." As Naruto put it, "Who is Hiei?" "He is your fiancé's dad," Yusuke remarked. As Naruto put it, "Does he mean like the dads in the village?" "No," Yusuke replied. "Good," said Naruto, "but why did you call me Kazama? I go by Naruto Uzumaki." "I think I should start from the beginning," Yusuke remarked. "I assume you've heard of the Kyuubi." "On my birthday, the demon fox attacked the village," Naruto stated. "Why?" Yusuke replied, "You know how you were told the Kyuubi was killed by the Yondaime Hokage?" Yusuke remarked, "That is only half true," as Naruto nodded. "The Yondaime's names were Arashi Kazama and Annette Kazama. Respectively, you were their son and were born on the day the Kyuubi attacked to shield you from your father's enemies. The third Hokage changed your last name from Naruto Kazama, which is your true name in any case. Your dad was going to seal the Kyuubi in you when it attacked because he needed a child to do it and, as a good man, He couldn't ask another family to do something he couldn't so far, you understand. After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, so my dad sealed the Kyuubi in me to stop it. Yusuke stated, that's actually what he was going to do, but he wasn't strong enough to do it himself, so he called in a Shinigami, also known as a death god, to assist with the sealing. However, the person he called in was a fool and ruined the sealing process. Rather than sealing the Kyuubi within you, he sealed the Kyuubi's powers and abilities. And we believe the actual Kyuubi was destroyed. It is thought that he is dead because no one has seen or heard from his spirit. So am I a demon now? Asked Naruto. According to Yusuke, no and yes. In response, Naruto asked, what do you mean? To clarify, let me tell you about your mother, Annette. Yusuke said she's not your typical woman. Your mother is one of the Shinigami, as you recall from my earlier mention of them. So my mom is a death god, Naruto remarked. Yusuke replied, yes, so that would make you at least a half a death god also, but because of the sealing and the screw up you also became a demon. But yes, I know that is a lot of buts, but you are also human, so to make it make sense you should be 1/3 human, 1/3 demon and 1/3 Shinigami. But he don't try hitting me if you want to know the answers. After giving him a fierce look, Naruto crossed his arms and waited for him to go on. What's so special about the three parts of you is that each one should be the dominant force in your body, but to put it simply, I guess you could say you are a human Shinigami demon. Yusuke remarked. I wonder if you already relate to Hiei. With that look I understand. Naruto remarked, I believe so. What will happen now, then? Do you know how to read yet? Asked Yusuke. I can spell my name, but that's it, Naruto remarked. All right, Yusuke said. Reading will be incorporated into your training before your parents come to continue your training. We must begin. A joyful Naruto jumped off the bed and struck Yusuke. My parents are coming, Naruto declared. When? After taking a deep breath, Yusuke stated, it will be a few years. We'll teach you how to use your demon abilities. What kind of demon am I, and how do you know so much about this? Asked Naruto. I think you look normal. Yusuke chuckled and remarked, I appear normal, but I am half human and half demon. I have lived here with my friends for almost 700 years, so I know a lot about this place. You don't look it, Naruto said, glancing at him. Yusuke continued, demons age very slowly, and when they reach full maturity they stop showing signs of aging. As for what kind of demon you are, you're a kitsune or fox demon. You are one of the last left, but luckily for you one of my friends is also a kitsune, and he will also be helping you train along with Hiei and Kuwabara, who was a full human until he married Hiei's sister and became a half demon also. So why exactly do I need to train anyway? Asked Naruto. Yusuke breathed a sigh of relief and stated, this is why I never have had kids. The reason you have to train is when you are 12 you will be going back to Konoha with 2 others to live, and also when you get 12 other demons that want to get what you have thanks to becoming a demon will be coming after you to kill you. They can't kill you now, but they can hurt you and make you weaker for later, so that is why we have to train you, so that a way you can protect yourself as well as your future wives. With a nod, Naruto said, all right, when do we begin? As soon as you get up and eat I will be the first to train you, a voice from the door said. So how long were you standing there, Kurama? Yusuke asked, glancing at the person at the door. Kurama replied, almost the entire time. I just saved myself the headache. As Yusuke put it, damn kitsune. Yusuke was thrown to the ground after Naruto leapt on his back. Yusuke said, why did you attack me just now? After rising to his feet. Naruto replied, you told me I was a kitsune demon and then you insulted them, so I was defending the kitsune honor. I like this kid, he is a lot better than Kyuubi was, Kurama said, breaking into a laugh. As Naruto put it, what was Kyuubi like? According to Kurama, to put it bluntly, he was an ass. He thought he was king of all demons and everyone was beneath him, and he was only barely an A-rank demon. What's an A-rank demon? Asked Naruto. Yusuke stated, demons are ranked based on how strong and smart they are, from E, D, C, B, A, and finally S rank are the strongest. As Naruto put it, what rank are you all? According to Kurama, we are S rank. With excitement, Naruto asked, what rank am I? Yusuke replied, E rank, but when we get done we hope you will be S rank also. Nodding, Naruto remarked, good, I hate being picked on. Before departing with Yusuke, Kurama threw some clothes on the bed and said, put these on and meet us outside the room. Naruto changed into a pair of sandals, a blue shirt with a button up the front, and green trousers. He observed a man and a young girl of his age sitting on one side of a large table with black hair and a bandana covering their foreheads, and another man and woman with green hair on the other side of the table. After he followed the two out of the room, the short man wearing a bandana said, it's good to finally meet you, Naruto. I'm Hiei, the ruler of this small kingdom, And this is my daughter Kayla. These two over here are my sister Yukina and my brother-in-law Kuwabara. Naruto was shown where to sit. It's nice to meet you. Why do you have bandanas on? Said Naruto with a smile. Hiei stated, my daughter and I both have what is called a Jagan eye. We keep it covered so it does not get irritated. As Naruto put it, why would a stupid third MPPHMM? Kurama said, lesson number 1. Never insult the eye. It is alive like all of us and has feelings. If you make it angry, it will hurt you. Got it? Yusuke and Kurama both covered their mouths. I'm sorry if I insulted you or the eyes. Sometimes I speak without thinking, Naruto said after they took their hands off of him after he nodded. It is common for those who don't know to be stupid. Just don't do it, Aegean, okay? Hiei said, nodding and turning to face his brother-in-law. Okay, so what exactly does that eye do? Asked Naruto. Hiei replied, I will tell you some other time. Your food is getting cold and we have a lot to work on and not a lot of time to do it. Everyone ate after Naruto nodded. The girl, who appeared to be around his age, caught Naruto's attention and quickly drew his attention away. Looks like he is already attracted to her, Yukina muttered as she leaned over to her husband. He raised his eyebrows and replied, how can you tell so easily when you almost never figured out I liked you back then? Yukina replied, I actually did know, but I also knew my brother would have killed you if I agreed to date you before you earned his respect and approval. Well, I have to meet with a pompous troll in an hour about using my land as a path to get home quicker. Hiei sighed after everyone had finished. I trust you all will begin his training. With a sinister twinkle in their eyes, Kurama and Yusuke simultaneously said, yes, we will begin his training. You hurt him and I will make sure neither of you will have any hair left, Kayla said, glancing at them. Yusuke replied, and what will you do now that you're little Aegean? According to Kayla, I still have Draguna. Relax, we won't leave any permanent damage, Yusuke said, looking pale. With a terrified expression, Naruto uttered, I have a bad feeling about this. If I hear they leave any marks on you after a day's healing, I will get them. Okay, Naruto-kun, Kayla said as she approached him, gave him a huge hug, and then planted a kiss on his cheek. Are you the one who is going to help me have a family? Asked Naruto, nodding. What have you been telling him? Kayla asked, giving Kurama and Yusuke a look that could freeze hell. Kurama stated, Yusuke told him about his parents, the ceiling, and tried to explain what a fiancé is. Someday we will, but not for several years. For now, I will just be your friend until we get to know each other better. Okay, Kayla said with a sigh, turning to Naruto. Okay, what was your name again? Said Naruto. My name is Kayla, but you call me Kei-chan, okay? Kayla sighed. As Naruto put it, okay Keiheim. With red cheeks, Kayla asked, why did you call me princess? Naruto replied, your dad said he was ruler here and that makes him king, right? So that makes you a princess, and the old man told me to show respect. Kayla replied, well, I am a princess, but you don't have to call me that if you don't want to. As for my dad being the ruler of this land, he was awarded it after rescuing my mother from some men several years ago. With a nod, Naruto asked, where is your mother? She passed away giving birth to me, Kayla said, casting a downward glance. With a, I'm sorry, Naruto said. Kayla replied, don't worry about it, you have training to do, so get strong for me, Naruto-kun. After giving a nod, Naruto sprinted after Kurama and Yusuke as they slipped out the door. Once outside, Yusuke commanded, Naruto, take off your shirt for a minute. Why? Asked Naruto. Yusuke replied, I want to put a gravity seal on you to help you get stronger quicker. After a few minutes, Yusuke finished taking off his shirt, and Naruto said, okay, I want you to put your hand over your heart and say 5. Face failured, Naruto did. What the hell happened? He asked. Yusuke replied, those seals make your weight magnify by however many you say, so you weighed about 50 pounds before, now you weigh 300 pounds. According to Naruto, help me get up, Yusuke replied, this is part of your lesson. We are going to work on your speed, reflexes, stamina, body conditioning and instincts for the next 6 months, Kuruma, if you would do the honor. Well, start moving every 5 seconds. You are not moving, I will hit you with this whip. Begin, Kurama said, nodding and releasing a rose that transformed into a whip. After 5 seconds, slap moving is Naruto's goal. After 5 seconds, give them a backslap. Naruto is trying to move again as he becomes enraged. Another 5 seconds, slap across the back. Naruto is slightly lifted off the ground. He reaches his hands and knees after 5 more seconds of another slap across the back. He gets a slap across the back after 5 more. When Naruto eventually stands up, a blast occurs in front of him. Yusuke points with his finger as he says, "You're too slow on reflexes, get moving." After receiving yet another backslap, Naruto murmurs, "Sadistic bastards." While reading another page of Icha Icha Paradise Volume 6, the third person back in Konoha remarked, "I hope Naruto is okay, I hope I made the right choice, oh well, I am sure he is perfectly safe and happy." Naruto was relieved when his first training session ended after 6 months opposite his teachers, was Naruto. Yusuke has his arms crossed and is staring at him. Kuwabara, the most malevolent of his teachers, is cracking his knuckles while Kurama sits on the ground meditating. Hiei entered the room and stated, "Naruto, I am pleased with the performance so far. Yusuke tells me you are up to 20 times gravity now and that you can take a punch in the face from Kuwabara without batting an eye. Kurama also tells me your reflexes are almost as good as a C-rank demon. Now it is time to start teaching you how to actually fight back." Hiei stated, "This will be your new training schedule, but you will still need to dodge and watch out for other attacks," after Naruto grinned and cracked his own knuckles. 5 o'clock get up, eat, and get ready. 6 o'clock warm-ups, 2,000 jumps, and 1,000 kicks and punches per leg. 8 o'clock Kurama's study of Kitsune powers. 10 o'clock Yusuke's study of spirit energy. 12 o'clock Kuwabara Taijutsu. 2 o'clock ninjutsu instruction based on the scrolls that the third person provided us. 4 o'clock review of the lessons for the day. 6 o'clock review any lessons you didn't fully understand. Dinner at 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock take a shower and go to bed. After giving him a quick glance, Naruto asked, "What about lunch?" Hiei stated, "You may not be able to stop in battle for food, so you are going to have to learn to make yourself conserve energy from food until you can actually get some." With a nod and a sigh, Naruto asked, "How long will this schedule be for?" 1 year, Hiei said. Following that, "You will take a tour of Makia to learn about demons and actual fighting. Put in a lot of effort because you will need to learn how to battle anything under a B-rank demon. We'll stop for the time being if someone is stronger than that, understand?" As everyone laughed, Naruto nodded and went pale. Naruto endured the most intense training he could imagine over the course of the following year, which was made worse by the fact that he was never able to see his friend because she was also occupied with training. When the trails finally ended, Naruto was facing a black-looking demon with 2 white eyes, and his teachers were standing behind him, watching him to see what he could do. It didn't help that he was instructed to approach the demon and kick him in the knee to get his attention. "Puny human," said the demon, "nobody messes with the great Chemo, and I'm not sure how you got here. The instant you chose to play me, you were doomed to lose. According to Naruto, your fate can kiss my ass." Naruto dodged the demon's initial blow and attempted to strike him from the side, but a wall of energy blocked his attack and knocked him away. The demon smirked arrogantly and said, "We shall see who fate chooses to win." Chemo remarked, "Like my ultimate defense," as Naruto stood up with a bunshin. He punched Naruto in the chest, but his hand went straight through him. "You are within my attack range, and I will now seal your fate," he said. Chemo said, "Where are you, boy?" as she began to look around. The next thing he knew, he was experiencing severe back pain. Chemo glanced at Naruto and said, "What are you, boy?" Naruto blinked when he noticed the demon whimpering on the ground. "You're not a human." As he returned to the others, Naruto said, "My name is Naruto Kazama and you will find out later what I am." Kurama asked, "How did you find his blind spot so easily?" as he gazed at the demon on the ground, looking sad. After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, "I figured I could attack from long range because it made sense that he couldn't see me when he asked where I was." "Your study of Kitsune skills under Kurama has improved your fighting abilities," Yusuke said, nodding. "You just used your Rose Whip to beat a C-rank demon." "It still needs work," Naruto said, nodding. "It was difficult to get the whip to move again after I stopped pressuring it to do what I wanted." As they made their way back to Hiei Kingdom, Kurama nodded and said, "We will work on that." Hiei was upset when they arrived and turned to face his friends, saying, "I need your help." Since Hiei never asks for assistance, this caught everyone's attention. According to Yusuke, "What's wrong? 3 A-rank demons came and tried to force me to have Kayla marry their boss after you left. Hiei said I would have killed them normally, but they were holding my sister hostage. Kayla was knocked out and taken by one who used some form of genjutsu on her, while my sister was injured by the other 2. I can't leave her here by herself in case they come back, so I can't go after my daughter even though I took her to get treated." "You go with the others," Kuwabara said. "My wife and I will remain here to ensure her well-being." Naruto questioned, "What did they smell like?" after Hiei nodded. As Hiei put it, "Lizards." Both Kurama and Naruto began to sniff, and Kurama remarked, "They headed to the east for Devil's Gorge." After taking a sniff, Naruto began to follow the others but halted, sniffed once more, and uttered the words, "I believe you're mistaken. Kurama, I can smell Kayla walking in the opposite direction." With a sniff, Kurama questioned, "Are you certain? Because of the others, I am unable to detect her scent." "Yes, she went the other way," Naruto said, taking another sniff. "I smell it." With a puzzled expression on everyone's faces, Hiei asked, "What's it?" According to Naruto, when we were doing sense training I never could track Kayla's scent, so I used an extract from the death tree's pollen and soaked her bandana in it so I could find her. "You're right," Kurama said. Sniffing, they all fled after her, saying, "I can smell it, but you'll have to explain it to her after we find her." Naruto replied, "You told me kitsunes are masters of deception, so I will work on mastering deception as long as I confirm her." "You met Draguna, haven't you?" asked Hiei. With a nod, Naruto remarked, "Never tell a woman she is old." If things weren't so bad, everyone would have laughed. After an hour, the group discovered a cave where the demon who had kidnapped Kayla was chained to the wall and holding a sword to her throat. As they were attempting to decide what to do, the demon pulled back and slapped Kayla across the face. Everyone began to look around when they felt a power spike that was as strong as an S-class demon close. However, Naruto got up in the center of the group and began to move toward the cave. The demon said, "What do we have here?" After glancing at the spike's source and spotting Naruto but not the others because they were still hidden, pointing to Kayla, he said, "Some little shrimp are going to try to be heroes, or perhaps you want some of this." As a red glow began to form around Naruto, the power spike grew even larger, and Yusuke and the others turned to watch Kurama shrug his shoulders. Naruto replied, "Release her and I will make your death painless." "Do you honestly think you stand a chance against me, boy?" the demon asked, beginning to laugh. "In any case, why are you concerned about her?" As he approached, Naruto flexed his hands and declared, "She is my mate." "When did he start calling her his mate?" Hiei asked, glancing at his pals. "As far as I know," Yusuke said. "What the hell?" he exclaimed, observing Naruto's red eyes and the 2-inch-long nails on his hand as he swiped at the green demon with 4 eyes and 2 tails. The demon said, "I see you have some fight in you, boy," and leapt away. At the last second he met Naruto's gaze and said, "Let's see how you handle fighting after this." When Naruto realized he was in a different world, he saw that Kayla was still bound to the cave wall, but he was also bound to a wall. The green demon then materialized in front of him and greeted him with the words, "Welcome to my ultimate attack," and stabbed Naruto with his sword, saying, "Now get ready for the pain." When the demon said, "That's 1 second, only 7 more days," Naruto tried to scream out his pain and faint, but he heard a new voice in his head. Naruto endured it for what felt like an eternity. "Listen to me, child," the voice said. "You need to use my power right now to save your friend. Find it within yourself and hold on to it." Then, as another sword pierced his stomach, he closed his eyes and felt a searing calm wash over him. When Naruto opened his eyes again, they were crystal blue, but they were glowing because he was once again in the real world and the demon in front of him was retreating. After blinking, Naruto heard the voice in his head say, "Calm down, kid, you need to get to know me. You will awaken my power if you grab the Zanpakuto on your back and draw me," while uttering the words, "Initial release Titus." Everybody was in awe of the display as Naruto nodded and drew the blue sword that was now on his back, which had a red scarf on the handle, a dragon face on the hilt, and a backblade on the tip. He said, "Initial release Titus." He felt a fresh wave of power surge through him, and a white light burst from him, shooting into the heavens as he was at the center of the power storm. Alarms were ringing everywhere in another dimension, and everyone was attracted to the power they sensed. An elderly man carrying 2 swords emerged from a tower and uttered the words, "Arashi, Annette, I want you both to get to Makia early. I have no doubt that it will draw every hollow it can because that power release is coming from there. I think that's your son. Proceed now." After nodding, they both left. A short while later, he said, "Take the girl," as the demon that had attacked Naruto lay on the ground attempting to escape. "This new creature, please be patient with me. I won't bother her or you again." With a laugh, Naruto said, "Tell me your name, demon." "Zimpo." The demon said, "Why is my name Zimpo?" "You must be eliminated because you are a plague on this world and all others," Naruto declared. "Goodbye, Zimpo," he said, slicing the demon in half with his sword and destroying his soul in the process. After that, Naruto sheathed his sword and began to approach Kayla, but he fainted at the first step. "What was that power?" asked Hiei. "Retsu," said a voice behind them. That was Retsu's Shinigami power. When the group of demons turned, they noticed 2 Shinigami-clad figures standing there. "Who are you?" asked Yusuke, Naruto's parents. The taller of the two said, Drawing back his cloak, it's unbelievable that he was able to call forth his Zanpakuto and, without any training, figure out the sword's original release name. I know, Arashi, the shorter one said, taking off her cloak. What has been taking place here? After giving an explanation of what had been going on, Hiei concluded by saying, so what now? Arashi replied, how much more training does he need to reach your expectations? His initial training in his demon powers is now complete, Kurama stated after killing an A-rank demon in one of our real tests against lower-level demons. He only needs to practice controlling what he already knows, and he should be prepared for his next training session. That's good because he will have a lot of hollows after him now because of the power wave he sent out with the first release. Annette said he must accompany us to Soul Society so that he can receive training and protection until he is prepared to rejoin humanity. By then, hopefully, we'll be able to locate his other fiancé. Hiei asked, what happened? As this caught everyone's attention. My best friend returned to the human world to see how her daughter and her family were doing. Annette remarked when we went to check, we discovered her dead in their house with her husband and a few other people. But their daughter was nowhere to be seen. We are unsure of what happened this year. She was supposed to arrive and begin learning how to control her Shinigami abilities. Is there anything we can do? Asked Hiei. Not right now. Annette said we hope she was not discovered by the hollows, although I am aware that my friend Amethyst had a bloodline. I am unsure of what it was because she was afraid of it. Hiei gave a nod and stated, before Naruto returns to human world I do have something I want him to have with your permission, that is. Says Arashi, what might that be? I would like my future son-in-law to have both a darkness dragon and a Jagan eye, Hiei said, taking off his headband to reveal his third eye. I believe he could use it to safeguard those he cares about as well as himself. How long will it take him to learn to use it and the dragon? Arashi asked, nodding. Hiei replied, 1 year at the most with my help, as long as he already knows swordsmanship. Annette gave a wink and stated, he will know Kenjutsu, but the decision to have that will be his and his alone since he has to live with it. All right, Hiei said, nodding. I hope you have a safe trip and I'll see you soon because I have to get Kayla home and checked out along with my sister. As they picked Naruto up and departed via a portal, the two nodded. Do you think he will want the eye? Asked Yusuke. Yes, he will, Hiei replied. He's already been selected to possess it. Everyone halted at that point, and Kurama questioned, how can you be so certain? I believe that the eye makes a decision only after it is implanted. That is only true on a young and wild eye, Hiei remarked. The eye in question has already stated that it wants Naruto to possess it. How can you be sure? Asked Yusuke. The eye I am talking about is the one I know possesses, Hiei said, turning to face them both. When they returned to Hiei's land with Kayla asleep, that stopped them both. Naruto woke up in a blue room without windows, but from the bed he was on, you could see the sky. He moaned and scanned the room. Finding nothing familiar, his eyes abruptly stopped when he saw a sword that he could hardly remember before going dark. I guess you and I are going to have to find a way back to our others, Naruto said after getting up and realizing he was still wearing his clothes. He then grabbed the sword and began examining it. After a brief pulse of the sword, Naruto turned and came to a halt. He turned to face the dresser, where a picture of a person who resembled him but without the whisker marks was displayed. He approached, picked up the photo, and examined the two individuals. He was unsure of what it was that told him that was where he belonged. Behind him a quiet female voice said, that was taken the day your father got here. After dropping the photo, Naruto raised his sword in front of him and took a seed out of his pocket, which he used to grow a rose in less than a second. When Naruto turned to face the woman, he saw that she was wearing a black cloak with the hood down, had brown hair, blue eyes, and a sword on her back. Who are you and where am I? Asked Naruto, taking a deep breath. The woman said, my name is Annette, and you, my son, are in Soul Society. Stunned, Naruto uttered, son, with a nod. Annette gestured to the bed and said, may I? She sat down after Naruto nodded, but he remained motionless and just stared at her with conflicted feelings in his eyes. She said, as you may or not know, my name is Annette. Your father is Arashi Kazama, or as you might know, the Yondiami Hokage of Konoha. With a nod, Naruto asked, why? Annette questioned, why what? Naruto replied, why was I left in that hellhole if you and him are alive? Then she said, let me start with a little about myself and then I can answer your question, okay? He nodded and continued, I am a Shinigami, or a death god, and I hunt what are known as hollows, or spirits that remain in the world of the living to long and become evil. They live off of the energy of living creatures they hunt and destroy. After you were born I was weak from having you, so I was brought back here to rest and recover from the hollows. Later that day after I left, Kyuubi attacked your father. Knew of only one thing that could stop it, so he Naruto interrupted her and stated, "Sealed it into me is what was supposed to happen. I already know this and I understand about dad dying, but when he came here and you were alive, why did you not come for me?" Annette stated, "We wanted to, especially after we heard how you were treated, but the council thought that with your father training to be a Shinigami and me being one of the strongest of us and having to always leave in an emergency, that you should stay there until you were old enough to train and have the village hide your presence from hollows. Especially with the extra power you got from the ceiling. If I could, I would have came for you right away to get you, but even here we have rules we have to follow." "I guess I can understand. I don't like it, but I can understand it," Naruto said with a sigh and a nod. "You know, you act a lot more mature than you should be," Annette said, glancing at him. "Yusuke and Kurama told me that if I act like an idiot, people will make fun of me, think I'm weak, and then try to fight me," Naruto said, nodding. "I won't have to engage in pointless conflict if I pretend to be older than I actually am. It is a good lesson, but you don't have to act that way around here," Annette said, nodding. "Why am I here anyways, and what happened with Kayla and the others?" Naruto asked after nodding. "The others went and took her back home after you summoned your Zanpakuto and killed the demon," a voice at the door said. Turning, Naruto saw a man who appeared to be an older version of himself, and he said, "Hello, son." It was Naruto who said, "Hiya dad," with a smile on his face. Arashi approached Naruto and gave him a hug. Both of them felt as though someone else was holding them following their breakup. Naruto questioned, "So what now?" She said, "Get some rest today. Tomorrow we begin your training on how to be a Shinigami." As he was about to leave, Arashi halted Naruto and said, "Before I forget, Hiei wants you to have a Jagan eye like him, your mother and IOWWWW." Naruto nodded and began to lay back down. He was struck by Annette, who said, "Care to rephrase that?" "I think it would be a good idea," Arashi said, "but your mother wants it to be your decision since you will be the one who has to live with it." He nodded and rubbed the lump on his head. "I'll give it some thought for the time being," Naruto said, nodding. He was kissed by Annette, who said, "Get some rest, tomorrow begins the real fun." Thus, Naruto's new life began. He improved his other skills and gained a lot of knowledge as a Shinigami. Things happened over time, and people forgot. Two figures appeared outside Konoha's gates a little more than 6 years later. One was a tall man, about 5 feet 10. With blue eyes and blonde hair. He wore a black cloak bearing the flashing Shinigami Kitsune's kanji, a blue button-up shirt, unbuttoned, with bandages around his waist, and black pants. A black bandage surrounded his forehead as well. He was wearing a black bandage on his right arm and a sword on his back. The second figure was a woman who was around 5 feet 10 inches tall, had green eyes and brown hair, and had a white bandage covering her forehead. She also had a white bandage on her right arm and a katana by her side. She was wearing a black shirt with the kanji for Princess of Darkness flames on the back, along with green pants. At the gate, the guard asked, "Can I help you?" "Naruto Kazama and Kayla Coldstone, the Hokage, is expecting us," Naruto said, nodding. As he was led into the village, the guard nodded, vanished, and reappeared a short while later, saying, "Follow me." When they arrived at the Hokage's office after a 10-minute walk, they saw the third Hokage sitting there grinning broadly. "It's good to see you again, Naruto, and I think this is Kayla," the third said, glancing at the two individuals in his office. After both of them nodded, the third one remarked, "I thought there was supposed to be another with you." Naruto took a breath and stated, "For now she is missing. She disappeared after her parents were killed. We are still looking for her, but it has been nearly 8 years since she disappeared. For now we are just hoping for the best." "So how was the training?" asked the third, nodding. "Extreme," said Naruto. Kayla replied, "That's one way to put it. You scare the shit out of everyone in Makia and Soul Society when you were only 6 and then you say it was extreme." Naruto replied, "I can't help that Titus wanted to make himself known then." With a perplexed expression, the third asked, "What are you talking about and who is Titus?" Naruto breathed deeply and said, "Titus is the spirit of my Zanpakuto, the sword that pulsed on his back, and when I was out training with my teachers, Kayla was kidnapped and I was able to save her by tapping into my Shinigami power, which according to Jericho, the current leader of Soul Society, is the 6th strongest power ever, and that was with no training. Today I am currently 4th strongest ever." Kayla replied, "Don't forget you were also an S-class demon." "Yes, but I still say they were holding back," Naruto said, nodding. According to Kayla, "So were you." "Who are you talking about?" asked the third person, feeling out of the loop. Kayla explained, "When Naruto returned to Makia last year to accept an offer my father gave him before he left, the 3 that trained him wanted to test how strong he got and see if he remembered everything. It came out a 3-way knockout." Naruto stated, "All 3 of my teachers were S-rank demons, which is the highest you can get." With a nod, the third asked, So what was the offer you mentioned earlier? I suppose the best way to describe it is that my father gave Naruto his bloodline, Kayla said, glancing at Naruto, who nodded. Reaching up, Naruto took off the black bandage covering his forehead, revealing a third eye, then he put it on again. Kayla stated, my father's was implanted in him, but Bekwase he had it so long when I was conceived the DNA from it was in my father who passed it on to me. The deal he made was his Jagan eye chose Naruto to bear it and gave him the option of having it. Naruto was weakened by it, but with help from Draguna's daughter Amber he was able to restore his full power back. What does it do and who are Draguna and Amber? Asked the third, nodding. Naruto stated, the Jagan allows me to control darkness flames as well as darkness dragons. Draguna is a queen darkness dragon that is inside of Kayla. Amber is one of Draguna's daughters and is now inside my body. So it is sealed like, said the third. Naruto nodded his head. No, the best way to describe it is the bug clan of Konoha. The dragons feed off of our energy and have male children we can use, but the females we sent back to Makia to get stronger and find a host to live with. The third replied, okay. I think I understand, but I would advise not mentioning this to anyone and keep the eyes. I am assuming you both have one. Covered. Most people have either forgotten about the Kyuubi and you Naruto, and I made a law stopping the council from mentioning most of the stuff about you, so you have basically a clean slate. Naruto raised his eyebrows and replied, yes. Mom gave me updates when news from here came in. I hear you have a new council mostly now. The third laughed and replied, yes. Your mother definitely changed a lot of things around here. The incident with the Uchihas also changed a lot of views here. Also, I know you both will be on the same team, so I don't have to tell too many people about you since Kakashi knows about you already. He will be your sensei if you pass, that is. Naruto laughed and replied, that's no problem. After dad taught me chakra control I was able to overcome my biggest problems with jutsu. Of course dad did not agree with some of the jutsu you gave me, so added some more. Curious, the third said, like what? According to Naruto, Rasengan and Hiraishin no jutsu. With a pale face, the third said, you can do both. Kayla stated, thanks to the Jagan eye he also can get by without having a marker. He just has to focus on an energy source with the eye and use it as a marker. I am curious about two things though, the third said, nodding. The first is, why did you say the eye chose Naruto? Kayla stated, the eye is alive, it has feelings, and if it is insulted it could override the person who owns its will and actually attack the person it is mad at. The third replied with a nod. The other question has bothered me ever since I first met you all those years ago. Who is the other fiancé? Naruto replied, I will tell you soon, but not yet. I want to get to know her first and have her know me. I also don't want to force her into the marriage. If she does not want it, I decided that I will only marry for love. Kayla added, he also is aware of his responsibilities as the last male of his clan of childbearing years. Curious about that, the third person remarked, I thought Naruto was the only member of his clan. Naruto nodded his head. As you know, my father was adopted into the Kazama clan shortly after birth. He was never supposed to know who his birth parents were. Soul Society keeps real good birth and death records on everyone. He found out who they are and know why they put him up for adoption also, and respects them for it. Who were they? Asked the third. They are alive and I will keep their secrets until I meet them and have their permission to tell. I apologize, Naruto said, glancing at him. I think you have more secrets than the Forbidden Scroll, the third sighed. Naruto laughed and replied, that thing is useless. Dad memorized it and I know almost everything on it. The only thing he did not memorize was the first jutsu to use plants, but I might ask to see them sometime. With a startled expression, the third said, you can use plants. After taking a seed from his pocket, Naruto watched it blossom into a rose, which then became a whip. He gave it to Kayla, who blushed, and it changed back into a rose. Is that one of your demon powers? Asked the third as he watched. According to Naruto, something like that. Am I going to get any real answers from you, Naruto? The third sighed. Naruto replied, actually there is something I would like to talk about. I want to move into my family estates with Kayla. I figured as much, so I had a genin team clean it up last week when I knew you should be back soon, the third said, nodding. Then, pointing to a clock on the wall, he handed them a note he had just written and said, I want you both to go to the academy and take the final test in room 311. Give the teacher there this note and you will have no trouble. After grabbing it and nodding, Naruto inquired, where exactly is the estate and the academy? The third individual stated, the estate is directly under the Hokage Mountain faces and the academy is near the hospital. Okay, I remember where that is. Let's go, Naruto sighed. They both missed the third's dejected expression as Naruto recalled the hospital. As they were leaving he understood why he silently vowed to himself as he gazed over the village. The third told Naruto and Kayla the room number as soon as they arrived at the academy, and they were ready to go in when they heard the cry, "No Ino pig, I am going to sit by Sasuke." "Forget it, forehead girl, Sasuke is mine," yelled another. Naruto turned to Kayla and sighed. "Before you ask, I will tell you there are 3 types of women. One are like me, that are easygoing and enjoy life and truly love someone. The 2 type are the ones who are too scared to do anything in life because they are afraid of what others think. The last is the case you are hearing now, fangirls, the most vile and degrading version of women. Although I do wonder if it is just human women or all women," Naruto said, nodding. "I am glad you are the first." Kayla replied, "Unfortunately all women have those kind. Let's get this over with, my back is still sore." Naruto gave a wink and said, "When we get to the house I will give you a back massage. It's only right since it's my fault." Kayla said, "You read that book, didn't you?" as she gave him a sidelong glance. "I don't know what you're talking about," Naruto said, turning away. "Don't worry, Naruto-kun, I don't mind as long as you truly love me," Kayla said with a snort. When Naruto opened the door and the 2 newcomers entered the room, everyone in the class stopped what they were doing. "Can I help you?" asked a young man with a scar on his face who appeared to be about to pull out his hair. With a nod, Naruto gave him the Hokage's paper. "Okay, welcome, my name is Iruka, and you are," the man said after reading it. "Trinity Ao, why did you hit me, Kayheim?" said Naruto. Kayla replied, "That name has no meaning here, Naruto, use your real name." With a sigh, Naruto uttered, "Kazama, Naruto Kazama." Iruka was taken aback. He inquired, "Are you any relations to?" since he was aware that Arashi Kazama was the last member of the Kazama clan. With a simple nod, Naruto acknowledged, "Yes, I am his son." "And you are Miss?" Iruka nodded. "Kayla Coldstone," Kayla said. "Okay, take a seat, we were just about to begin the test," Iruka said, nodding. Both of them began to ascend the stairs, but they paused in the 3rd row to take a whiff of the air. Both of them scanned the room, focusing on a sullen boy with black eyes and hair. Kayla shook her head in agreement as Naruto nodded to the boy. Everyone wanted to know what that was. After they reached the last row, Naruto sniffed once more and exclaimed, "I can't believe it, 2 of them." After glancing at him, Kayla remarked, "I know one is Mr. Sunshine, but who is the other?" "Her the white eye," Naruto said, glancing across at a girl with blue hair and pale white eyes. After Kayla simply nodded, a dog-owning boy turned to face them and asked, "What are you talking about?" At the moment, Iruka was with a student outside of the classroom. Naruto murmured, "We were just commenting on how those 2 remind us of a couple of people we knew. Their scents are similar." The dog boy replied, "So you met Uchiha and Hyuga before? Big deal. If you want to talk about scents, then you smell of a fox and she smells of some kind of lizard and plant." Kayla remarked, "I can understand the lizard part, but why a plant?" as Naruto went pale. "It's not you, it's your bandage on your head, it smells of a dead plant," the dog boy said after taking a sniff. After glancing at Naruto, Kayla remarked, "Really, I wonder how that got there." In an attempt to shift the conversation, Naruto asked, "So what's your name, dog boy?" "Kiba, and this is my partner Akamaru. So where are you from?" the dog boy asked. Naruto stated, "I was actually born here in this village but left to train at a young age." According to Kayla, "I am from Makia," Kiba replied, "Never heard of that place, where is it at?" Kayla stated, "It is so far from here that almost no one has ever heard of it. Some say it is at the end of the world. In truth, you just have to know where it is or be with someone who does." Nodding, Kiba remarked, "So the place is like a hidden village?" According to Naruto, something like that. At that moment, Iruka called Kiba as a girl with pink hair returned to the room, grinning and carrying a hiat. After glancing at Naruto, Kayla said, "Care to explain?" Naruto let out a sigh. "Remember when you were kidnapped, I had trouble finding your scent because you hide it so well, so I placed the pollen extract from a death tree in your bandage when you were asleep. It was how we were able to find you so quick that day. I have just secretly been adding more whenever it got weak, so in case something like that happens Aegean, I could find you." Kayla replied, "Well, you will have to add a foot massage to that tonight." "Exactly when did I become whipped?" asked Naruto. Kayla stated, "When your mother taught me her lesson about how to control your dad and made me promise to teach her the others." Kayla went to take her test. After Kiba returned, she returned holding her hiat and laughing uncontrollably. Naruto asked her what was so funny when she returned, and she told him to wait and see. At last, there were just 2 people remaining, Naruto and Mr. Sunshine. Iruka looked up and said, "Sasuke, do a henge. Bunshin in replacement. With so many students we are already past time to leave and I still have work to do, so we will finish the last 2 here." The majority of the girls in the class cheered when Sasuke completed his 3 tests in a flash and passed. It was Naruto's turn at last. Iruka instructed him to follow suit. Naruto substituted a desk for himself after making Kayla laugh by hanging into Yusuke. He turned to Iruka and uttered the words, "What kind of bunchins?" "It does not matter." Iruka sighed and said, "Make whatever kind you want." Naruto grinned as he turned to face Kayla, who replied, "Oh." Shutting his eyes, Naruto began to move his hands more quickly than anyone could see. The next thing anyone noticed was that there were several Narutos in the room. The last one was just a typical bunchin, while the others were covered in leaves, made of fire, black flames, smoke, and so on. Except for Kayla, everyone was in disbelief. She replied, "How come you did not use the other kind?" Naruto replied, "I don't want to kill anyone when I dispel them." Kayla replied, "And you used darkness flames to show off." According to Naruto, something like that. The class is experiencing a range of emotions at the same time. When Kayla uttered her next line, everything stopped. Kayla said, "Quit showing off or you will never see me naked again." With the exception of Sasuke and Naruto, all of the guys were instantly sent flying backwards with nosebleeds. The fact that she looked like a goddess did not help either. That shocked even the girl with the pale eyes. "What are you doing looking at women naked, you pervert?" exclaimed two girls as they abruptly moved down the row. "I don't know what your problem is, Pinky or Miss Mole over here, but back off," Naruto said, blinking at both of them. "If my fiancé wants to show me her body, it's her decision." Being called Pinky made the pink girl scream, but she stopped when she said, "Mole, what mole?" Naruto replied, "The one she has under that weak-ass genjutsu." Immediately putting her hands in a seal, the pink-haired girl yelled, "Kia," and glanced at the blonde girl before laughing uncontrollably. There was a huge mole between the blonde girl's eyebrows. "What about you, Mr. Pervert? What are you and the girl hiding behind that bandage?" the blonde said, turning quickly. Naruto replied, "It is none of your concern. If you want, I can tell you a way to remove that mole without leaving a scar." The blonde exclaimed, "Really?" before saying, "Demon wart removal," and removing his hand to reveal unblemished skin. Naruto swiftly flashed through some hand seals and placed it over her mole. "Hey, what about me? How come you were being nice to her?" asked the girl with the pink hair. "Don't look at me, Draguna already wants to roast her for that annoying voice," said Kayla as Naruto turned to face her. Sighing, Naruto said, "Sorry, I can't help you." He then went back up the stairs to sit next to Kayla and scatter all of the clones. "You forgot your headband," Iruka said after he had finally recovered from his shock. He reached for it on the desk, but a hand appeared from it and handed it to Naruto, who coughed it up and wrapped it around his waist. Shocked, the sulky boy turned and declared, "I wish to fight you." "Sorry, Four Eyes, I don't fight unless I am planning on defending or killing," Naruto said, glancing at him. Four Eyes was on everyone's mind. Taking out a kunai, Sasuke smirked and said, "We'll see about that." Naruto then grabbed it, appeared behind Sasuke, and said, "Konoha Taijutsu Secret Art. 1000 Years of Pain. Kunai version." He then thrust the kunai straight into Sasuke's ass and sent it flying into the air. The class responded to this in a variety of ways. The boys cheered, while the majority of the girls were either shocked, angry, aroused, impressed, or embarrassed, or a mix of these. Naruto was holding up a new lump on his head when he asked, "Why did you do that?" after glancing at the lump's surface. Kayla replied, "Quit trying to be like my uncle and show everyone your power." Naruto replied, "If you're so pissed at me, then why are you so?" He was stopped by a glance from Kayla, who blushed and said, "Don't finish that sentence, Kitsune." Iruka was transporting poor Sasuke to the hospital while Naruto simply nodded. Another view was being expressed in the Hokage's office. Just like Iruka said it would be, the third side. A cigarette-wielding man asked, "So what are you going to do, no pops?" With a sigh, the third said, "I'll do what the council requested. We will have a single team because we have heard about Orochimaru and his village and their planned attack during the Chunan exams." "So what are we going to do about the two new additions?" said a slack-jawed voice. "I am surprised, Kakashi," the third said. "I had no doubt that you would recall those two." Before his one eye grew as large as a saucer, Kakashi said, "He's back, they're both back," as he finally raised his head from his book to gaze at the two in the crystal ball. "When did they return? Why didn't I know?" While the other three were perplexed, the third laughed and remarked, "They both got back today." Kakashi replied, "Wasn't there supposed to be a third person with them?" The third stated, "They are currently searching for one of his other fiancés who has gone missing. All evidence of her vanished after her parents were killed in some way." Kakashi gave a nod, and a red-eyed woman asked, "Exactly who are they?" "Well, some of you may recall that the boy had a different name," the third said Uzumaki Naruto. But that's not his real name, Kakashi remarked. Naruto Kazama is his true name. When that happened, 3 sets of eyes brightened. One dropped his cigarette, and another dropped her dango and turned to face the red-eyed woman who was staring at the dango woman. I can understand the shock about hearing he is the Yondiami's son, the third person said after taking a look at this. Asuma was at the fire temple training when I announced it. Kurenai was with her mother, working as an apprentice for her, while Anko was training with Orochimaru. Anko replied, that's not the reason why I am shocked. Thought it's. Yeah, Kurenai replied, still in disbelief. After a moment of bewilderment, the third said, so I take it you know who his third fiancé is. Third, Anko said, the girl next to him is one. The third side all of the information about her is a village secret, and her name is Kayla. Nearly everything about Naruto is also a secret. Kakashi laughed and replied, I believe that especially with what his mother and other fiancé are supposed to be and what Kayla is. You seem to know a lot about this, Kakashi, Kurenai remarked. In the rear of the room, a woman's voice said, he should after he read Arashi letter. The third person sighed and asked, what do we owe the pleasure of Annette? As everyone else gazed at the source. She said, I was here to make sure you remember the rules about Naruto and Kayla. You can tell them any information on those two if you want, Annette said after the third nodded. I have received personal assurances from Arashi that they will be loyal to both you and him. According to Asuma, you knew the Yondiami. With a laugh, Annette remarked, of course I know my husband. What do you mean that you knew? Kurenai asked, isn't he deceased? Perhaps I should give you some information so you don't get screwed up, Annette said. Arashi did pass away, but I asked him to accompany me when he reached the other side. According to Asuma, what do you mean? I am not human, Annette declared. I'm a Shinigami. Anko replied, so that little Gaki is half Shinigami. According to the third, actually no, do you know the truth about the ceiling? Asked Kakashi. According to Asuma, of course we know the Kyuubi is inside of Naruto. Annette said, I thought you were going to tell everyone, after glancing at the third. I tried but the idiots didn't listen to me and they were away from the village, sighed the third. What are you talking about? Kurenai asked. According to Annette, when Arashi did the ceiling and summoned one of us, he summoned the biggest idiot we had who screwed up the ceiling, and instead of sealing Kyuubi he sealed the Kyuubi's powers and the Kyuubi soul was never seen or heard again. According to Anko, so the kid was picked on for no reason. The third replied, yes, but because of the way the sealing was done Naruto also became a demon somewhat. According to Kurenai, so he became what 1/3 demon. That's actually where it gets complicated, Annette said. This is the first time that this has ever occurred in history. As you can see, every aspect of Naruto ought to be his dominant feature. The human, demon, and Shinigami sides his body has changed as a result of everything that happened to him when he was less than a day old, and he is now essentially a new creature with all 3 power sources as a result. He has earned a nickname in Soul Society. In Makia they refer to him as the Flashing Shinigami Kitsune or Trinity. What are Soul Society and Makia? Anko inquired. She said, you know Makia as Demon World and Soul Society is where the Shinigami live. What are these 3 power sources? Inquired Asuma. She said, Chakra, Retsu which is Shinigami power and Yuki or Demon Chakra. Anko responded, so what's so special about that Kayla girl and the one that is missing? Well, the funny thing about how it worked out is this. Kakashi remarked, Naruto possesses 3 distinct skills. All of his fiancés possess those skills. After extinguishing another cigarette, Asuma remarked, so the kid has a Shinigami, a demon, and a human fiancé. Which one is she? Kurenai asked. Demon, said the third. With the exception of Kakashi, Annette, and the third, everyone briefly went pale. Annette replied, relax, she can't attack this village or its people except in self-defense of herself or others. Asuma questioned, how can you be so sure? She said, Bekwase, she gave her word to me and a demon can't break its word and you can't break a deal with a Shinigami without facing death. Everyone became a little more relaxed after that. Anko responded, so how old is she? I know demons are supposed to live for a long time. Annette paused for a moment and replied, well, if you used human standards she is about a year older than Naruto. If you use demon standards after the age ritual she is about 18. Before the ritual she would be about 30. Of course my son by those same standards would be 13 or 19 depending on what standards and where you lived at the time. Kurenai replied, I am not even going to ask, so what exactly happens now? The third replied, both Naruto and Kayla will be ninja of the leaf. The only exception is if demon or Shinigami business interferes, they have to deal with those first. Now perhaps you could answer a question for me. Who is his third fiancé? According to Annette, The only ones who know are Naruto, Arashi, and the girl herself. Naruto wants to get to know her better before they talk about marriage because he said he only wants to marry for love, so he won't even tell Kayla who it is yet. Well, it looks like Sasuke is back now with Iruka. Maybe you should go meet your new students, the third sighed. When Kakashi took out his book, a sword sliced it in two. Don't go near my son with that book, it's bad enough his father gave him a copy of it as part of the talk. He couldn't look at me for a week afterwards, everyone said, glancing at the person brandishing the sword. Kakashi simply said, "CYA," and nodded before vanishing in a cloud of smoke except for Annette and the third. Everyone else followed. After giving him a quick glance, Annette said, "I lied a minute ago, I know who his other fiancé is." Smirking, the third said, "Really, who? It's," said Annette. Everyone in the classroom was waiting to see what would happen next. When Iruka returned with a diapered Sasuke, the guys burst into yet another round of laughter at this. 3 leaf swirls and a single puff of smoke suddenly materialized in the classroom. They vanished once more after a man brandishing a cigarette said, "Those of you who passed meet us on the roof." Naruto was observing the Hokage tower when the people who had passed reached the roof, and Kayla questioned, "What's wrong?" According to Naruto, "Mom just left." Kayla nodded, but since the Hokage tower was nearly a mile away from the academy, the senses were all tense. It was unsettling to feel a certain energy so far away. At last, a purple-clad woman wearing very little said, "Okay, maggots. To determine whether you deserve to be a ninja, we would typically divide you up and test your teamwork. The Hokage has decided to train you all together to become the most skilled ninja genin the Leaf has ever produced as part of a new program. Anko is my name, Asuma is the man holding the cigarette, Kakashi is the other man, and Kurenai is the woman with the red eyes. The following is the training schedule. Strategy will take place on Mondays, Taijutsu on Tuesdays, Genjutsu on Wednesdays, Ninjutsu on Thursdays, and Specialty on Fridays. This is the day to practice your clan techniques. If you have any, we will train you in one of these earlier areas. If you haven't already, the week's chakra control and review will take place on Saturday. Sunday will be a day of rest." He asked, "Is that it?" Naruto said. Asuma replied, "Yes, you are genins, so that is all you can handle for now." After placing a hand on his shoulder, Kayla remarked, I know. "What are you upset about?" Kiba asked. "It looks like a sensible schedule." Naruto stated, "I was doing more training than that every day when I was 5 years old." According to Sasuke, "I doubt that Dobi." As Sasuke, Naruto flicked a seed and questioned, "What was that?" "I said I doubt that Dobi." Sasuke said he was encased in a bunch of vines from the seed. "What was that you flicked at?" After glancing at Naruto, Anko remarked, "I like this kid." In response, Naruto asked, "What about missions?" According to Kurenai, normally you would have to do a bunch of D-rank missions, but because of the importance of getting you up to speed so fast, the Hokage decided to skip those until after the Chunan exams. With a nod, Naruto asked, "Is there any limit to what skills we use?" The boy, who appeared to be about to nod off, said, "How troublesome are you?" "I'm sorry to bother you," Naruto said. "I just want to make sure I can use all of my skills in the event of a fight." Kakashi replied, "I got an idea, let's have a spar to evaluate everyone's skills." According to Kayla, "Anything goes." A quote from Kakashi read, "Anything but killing." Asuma remarked, "I believe you just signed a bunch of pain, Kakashi," while Naruto and Kayla both grinned malevolently. "Everyone meets in the stadium on the south side of town in 1 hour and come prepared for an all-out fight," Kakashi said, shrugging his shoulder. Naruto turned to face Kayla and uttered the word, "Jagen." Jagen. Kayla said what they meant was a mystery to everyone. When everyone arrived at the stadium an hour later, they discovered that the Hokage had also come to watch the games. The matches start when this kunai hits the ground. It's everyone for themselves. The last one standing will be the captain of the team, Anko said as he appeared in the arena, throwing the kunai into the air before vanishing and resurfacing alongside the Hokage and the senseis. Numerous yells and jutsu began to fly as soon as the kunai struck the ground, while the fat boy approached and struck each girl in the neck, knocking them out. The lazy boy threw a shadow at the girls. Both the diaper boy and his dog were hurling fireballs at one another while the dog boy was spinning in a tornado. The Hokage had not yet begun the match. He really wanted to watch. Both figures stood staring at one another. A few eyebrows were raised when Naruto dropped his cloak, leaving a tiny crater on the ground. Then, before declaring, "I won't remove the seals," Naruto turned his neck and popped it on both sides. As Kayla began to remove the bandage from her arm and revealed what appeared to be a black dragon tattoo, she said, "It's your loss. How about finishing them off so we can go all out?" she asked. The senseis, dog boy, Diaper Boy, Lazy Boy, and Fat Boy stopped and stooped as a third eye opened when Naruto slowly reached for and took off his headband. Then a flash occurred, knocking both Fat Boy and Lazy to the ground. Dog Boy turned to watch as his dog was kicked in the face, knocking it out, and Diaper Boy knocked him out. The Diaper Boy was then confronted by Naruto, who punched him so forcefully that you could hear bones shattering as he flew backward and struck the wall. As Kayla took off her bandage and opened a third eye, Naruto replied, "So what shall it be, Nin, Ken, Tia, Jen, or Dem?" Kayla replied, "Let's do this in the only area where there is no clear victor." "Kenjutsu it is," Naruto nodded, then reached onto his back to draw his sword. "Initial release Titus," he said, and his sword began to pulse before a dazzling white light engulfed Naruto. As Naruto changed, laughter brought Kayla to everyone's attention. A black dragon emerged from Kayla's tattoo, flew into the air, and then descended to cover her sword in black flames as the sword she was holding pointed toward the sky. Naruto, who had stopped glowing, smirked as he observed her at 5 o'clock. He raised his hand and began carefully taking off one finger. Both of them vanished into thin air. When it reached 0, the clash of metal sounded like power shockwaves. All of the Junins watched in awe as the battle continued. Watching the battle with his Sharingan uncovered and whistled was Kakashi. The others did their best to follow it, but all they could see were blurs in black and white. After 10 minutes of traveling at this speed, they finally came to a complete stop, facing one another. "I thought you weren't going to take them off," said a panting Kayla. "I didn't. This is my speed now," Naruto remarked. With a sigh, Kayla jumped back, holstered her sword, and uttered the words, "You finally got me. Father will be pleased." In response, Naruto asked, "How many did you drop?" Kayla remarked, 10. "What about you?" Naruto stated, "I still have 20 on. I can go to 25, but it slows me down bad. I try to stick with 20 at all times as not to overload my coils when I release them." After Kayla gave a nod, they both started clapping. They witnessed the Hokage and the senseis standing and applauding for their amazing performance. Both Kayla and Naruto apply a bandage to their foreheads. The Hokage replied, "That was a very good fight, both of you, and I would like to congratulate Naruto on being captain of Team Elite. I want you to begin training tomorrow at 7. Meet here and good luck." Dismissed. Prior to departing after the students were examined by the senseis, Kakashi returned Sasuke to the hospital. 3 weeks had passed since the formation of Team Elite. They only trained. Everyone could see how well the team was performing. Everyone carried on with their Saturday routines today. After concluding his conversation with the senseis, Naruto sighed and said, "That's it. Can everyone come here for a moment?" He was ignored by everyone but Kayla and the senseis. When he had had enough, he unleashed a ton of ki, which stopped everyone in their tracks. Aside from Kayla. 10 seconds later, he halted and exclaimed, "Now, everyone come here now." They all finally arrived and he closed his eyes as he said, "That was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. For 3 weeks now we have been together, but we are not a team. Kiba and his dog want to play fetch. Shikamaru wants to look at the clouds. Choji wants to eat. Sakura and Ino want to get Sasuke attention and fight. Sasuke wants to be jealous of everyone's strength. Shino wants to collect new bugs. Hinata wants to undress people with her bloodline causes her to eat and faint. If we actually had a battle right now with anything but the wind, you would all get your butts handed to you." "What about you, Dobi? I don't see you training," Sasuke remarked. "Because my techniques are too dangerous to use in close range of friends, so I have a shadow clone watch your training and work on my jutsu." Naruto grinned and vanished in a puff of smoke, followed by another Naruto who entered the clearing, sweating profusely. "You may say the senseis are not teaching you anything, but that is bullshit. None of you have actually taken being a ninja seriously, or you would have realized that the senseis can only get you so far and you have to do the rest yourself." Sasuke replied, "I don't have time to worry about other people's problems." "For once, Sasuke, you're right," Naruto sighed. Except for the senseis, everyone was paying attention to this. Naruto stated, "The Hokage has a few missions he needs us to work on and the senseis have asked me to divide us up so we can each do the mission. This is a test of my leadership skills." With a leap into the air, Kiba exclaimed, "All right, a real mission." Sighing, Naruto stated, "We have 3 C-rank missions. 1 is a delivery mission, 1 is a bodyguard mission." A portal suddenly opened, and a figure that resembled Naruto, 7 feet tall, with black hair and black eyes, and wearing a black cloak, stepped out, brandishing a sword, and uttered the words, "Division 98 Captain Trinity, sir." With a sigh, Naruto replied, "Yes, message for you from the council." The figure approached and handed him a scroll, which Naruto nodded and opened. After reading it, he said, "As luck would have it, a team is preparing to go there right now, so I will have it looked into. Inform the council that I will provide a report following the completion of this mission by all teams. and inform Iquan that I will be conducting an inspection prior to the annual power test. Sir, the man said, tensing up, Iquan is dead, sir. Naruto turned and said, what happened? In a chilly voice, with a look that only senseis have ever seen, the look of a leader when one of his men dies. A mission in Jukan City, sir, in Rain Country, reports had a C-class hollow in the area, so he went by himself to deal with it. The man, who appeared terrified, said he killed, and it turned out to be an S-rank hollow. We only discovered his remains. He was sucked dry by the hollow, sir. Turning his back on everyone, Naruto uttered the words, who is his replacement? Second caption Kazama sir, the man said, I want you to deliver this message to my squad as a whole, Naruto said, closing his eyes and letting out a sigh. Whether it's an S rank or an E rank doesn't matter to me. No one should embark on a mission by themselves. Tell my father that even though he is my father, I am his superior and will not think twice about sending him or anyone else back to the academy if he has a problem with that. Does that make sense? After Naruto dismissed him, the man nodded and said, good luck, sir. He then walked back into the portal, which closed behind him. What's up? Asked Kakashi. I have a personal mission for someone on the delivery mission, Naruto stated. It's just information gathering, he said, passing the scroll to Kakashi, whose eye grew large. He continued, exactly how are you going to pull that one off? According to Naruto, you will see. How did you get ranked higher than Sensei? Asked Kakashi. My dad is strong, but I've finished more missions than him, Naruto remarked. As of right now, I have destroyed 150 S rank, 210 A rank, 460 B rank, 700 C rank, 1000 D rank, and more than 60,000 E rank hollows. Where was I? Sighed Naruto. Yes, a search and recovery mission is the final one as far as I can tell right now. The bodyguard mission will be the hardest, so I will work with the other two groups to avoid underpowering them. Sasuke, Kakashi, and Kiba, Shino will be on the search mission. Why am I on this mission? Asked Sasuke. This mission is to find the daughter of a wealthy businessman, Naruto stated after reading the scroll once more. The target's last known location was between Iwa and the fire, and Kakashi has a picture of it. Kiba, you and your dog have excellent tracking and teamwork abilities, which is why I selected you for this team. Shino, you have the ability to track people and spy on them from a distance even though we are only suspecting mercs. Sasuke, you will be a major force in the actual recovery given the client's wealth. There is a remote chance that Nin will be missed. Everyone felt better about being on that mission as a result. The second mission is to deliver a scroll to the K's cage, Naruto stated after clearing his throat. The first mission is that information gathering will be my second mission. It. Asuma replied, what is the second mission about? Just for the safety of the others. My mother told me that they want us to investigate why Suna has been sending them a lot of ninjas lately by one ninja who they say is a demon, Naruto sighed. Kayla will be able to verify whether it is true and assist with any potential threats, so I want her to go. If this source is real, I don't want to interact with them. Within 100 yards, Kayla can learn Sakura and Ino will be her teammates according to what I've been told about their family businesses. Both of them have travel experience, and they might be able to explain the local customs that are the reason for their presence, since she can assist in training them if necessary for this mission and prevent the sensei from having to be separated from the others based on gender. I would also like Anko to accompany this team. Anko replied, okay Gaki, any idea who the target is for the second mission? The youngest son of the Case Cages, Naruto said, nodding. According to the report I received, his own father had turned it into a weapon. I'm not sure what the council will do if the report is accurate. Who was that and what is going on? Asked Sasuke, who didn't like not knowing what was happening. What was the method he employed to get here? Why did he call you Trinity, and why did he call you Captain and Sir? Naruto said, that was Private Jiruichi of my division, as he turned to face Sasuke regarding what is happening. It is classified by the Hokage's order. All I can say is that I have had multiple names since the day I was born. One respects, one despises, and one fears. Additionally, one is a nickname. After discovering the lovely seal on the wall surrounding the Kazama estates, without a Kazama's assistance, you could not enter the estates without being electrocuted and sent to Ibiki's office. Sasuke became enraged that he had not been given any information regarding the mystery of Naruto Kazama ever since he defeated him so easily. Sasuke has turned into a sort of stalker, trying to learn his secrets. It only took 26 times to stop him. The last mission, a bodyguard mission, is a C rank, but the Hokage believes it may be higher due to rumors he recently heard from a hunter nin, Naruto sighed. As a result, Shikamaru, Choji, Hinata, and I will be accompanied by Asuma, who has hand-to-hand skills, and Karinia, who has genjutsu skills. Shikamaru is a master of strategy and trapping, and his Choji fighting style is effective at quickly eliminating a large number of opponents. Hinata is a good fighter and scout. My broad skill set allows me to cover areas that other members might not be able to. Well done, Naruto, a voice from the tree line said. The third said as he approached them. You actually came up with a better suggestion for teams than the one I was planning on if I did not like them. How would you have divided them up out of curiosity? Asked Naruto, nodding. The third individual stated, Ino Shikamaru and Choji with Asuma Dasuna, Kiba, Shino, Hinata with Kurenai to the recovery. Enko would have went to Ibiki for interrogation help and the rest for bodyguards. Naruto nodded and continued. I see the logic in those, but I also saw the flaws in it. Also, Asuma team would have lacked a long-range fighter if they were to encounter enemies. Kurenai team did not have a good ninjutsu user on it, and Kakashi team would have been 3 powerhouses and an undetermined, which going into a possible battle zone would make a perfect target for hostage or targeting. According to Asuma, what about the side mission? The third replied, I read a report a few years ago claiming the same thing about his son, and if it is true we need to know in case he decides to use him on us one day. Jinshu. Both Kayla and Naruto interrupted the Hokage with the intention of killing him. Kayla said, please do not use that word, sir, it is degrading to those who know them or of them. The third replied with a nod. I understand anyways, what I was saying. Those who are cursed by that burden have bad lives, and it drives some of them to the point of insanity. If the Kage did in fact do that to his son, then the leaf might need to rethink its opinion of them. With a snort, Naruto remarked, is that all, old man? The third replied, actually no, early last night a Chunan broke into the Hokage tower and attempted to steal the forbidden scroll of seals. At that, Naruto chuckled and remarked, if it was there. The third nodded and replied, yes, in fact, I am glad that it was not there, because when he was looking for he uncovered something that I did not know about and surprised me greatly about you, Naruto. The third person to speak said, he found a scroll your father wrote to you and he had opened it and read it, so I also had to read it to see if it was sensitive in nature. The attention of everyone listening was growing. With a tense expression, Naruto asked, what exactly did he put in it? After laughing, the third person remarked, only about the truth of his parents. After becoming more relaxed, Naruto reacted by saying, so you know who they are now, huh? The third replied with a nod. Yes, and I have already sent word to talk to them. Imagine my surprise to find out 2 of my own students had a child secretly. Enko replied, don't tell me Gaki is one of Snake Freak's descendants. No, the other 2, said the third, shaking his head. Damn it, said Naruto. The third replied, when the council heard it from the interrogation report on him, they demanded that you marriages start after the Chunin exams, with you being the only person able to carry either of those bloodlines. They don't want to risk losing a chance to have them. Naruto stated, I told you once, old man, I won't be getting married until I find my third fiancé and get to know both her and the other one better. I won't force any of them to marry me because of something our parents decided. The third replied, yes, I remember. It's fortunate for you that one of them is going on a long-term mission with you, isn't that right, Kurenai? Everyone turned to stare at Kurenai, but Naruto asked, how did you find out? Kurenai turned red at this point. Damn it, Dad, when I see you again, I am going to have a darkness dragon chase you all over Soul Society. How much does the council know of this? Naruto said after catching and reading a scroll that the third threw over his shoulder. The third replied, only your grandparent. I was able to capture the Chunin before you read more. It will stay that way if you want, but I need some help from you in return. The Chunin that was caught said he was going to turn the scroll to Orochimaru in the Sound Village. Apparently he is the cage there. If possible, I would like for you to try and gather info on what he is planning. You are the only one who I can trust with not dragging the leaf into a war if he has no intentions of messing with us. Naruto glanced at him and replied, I may have ways to do it, but I don't want to abuse the powers and abilities I have. Old man, trying to blackmail me into something is not a good idea. To stay on my good side. The third sighed and replied, I know and I am sorry to do this, but it's the only way I could think of. Orochimaru has been one of 2 regrets I have had as a kage. You were the other one. If I could have changed things for you, I would have. I need a small summon that can make it into the Sound Village. Kurama is going to kill me for this, Naruto said, letting out a sigh and briefly closing his eyes. Kachiyose no Jutsu, summoning technique, was said by the third after going through some hand seals, and a tiny monkey materialized. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a seed and let it develop into a bit of moss. Have your summon place this as close to Orochimaru as he can get without getting caught, and in about a month have it go back and get it and bring it to you. This is memory moss. It records everything that is said for up to 2 months. I have a jutsu that I will give you after I get back that will transfer the info onto a scroll for you. Know this. I won't do this, Aegean, without a good reason. This is an abuse of my trust, old man. I understand and I hope to make it up to you, the third said, nodding as he handed the moss to the monkey that had taken off toward the sound. Naruto replied, "Don't make it up to me, make it up to Kurenai for embarrassing her like you did. I was not going to pressure her to get to know me like this, and if she chose to forget about the arrangement I was going to let her wishes be. I swear I think all cages are fuck up in personal matters if you and my father are any examples." Sakura pointed a finger at Naruto as he turned to face Ino. "What?" he asked. Ino replied, "That's the most emotions you have shown since we met you, and so romantic." After glancing into their eyes and faces, Naruto took a step back and uttered the words, "Oh hell no." "What?" Kayla asked as Naruto put it, "Use your Jagen on them." After turning to face the two girls, Kayla blinked repeatedly before turning red and exclaiming, "Hell no, don't even think about it, I won't let any hussy get near Naruto without true love." She then turned to face Ino and asked, "Is that even possible?" Everyone's attention was captured by that, and Ino turned to Kayla, asking, "Did you just?" After Kayla gave a slow nod, Ino turned to face the white-faced Naruto and remarked, "I have faced S-Class Hollow, S-Class demons, a village full of people who wanted to kill me, and I have never seen anything as deranged as that." After glancing at them, Kakashi asked, "What was it?" Kayla stated, "All I will say is it consisted of whipped cream, candles, leather, whips, chains, flowers, kuniyas, shurikens, witnesses, pinchers, a set of bunny ears, a set of fox ears, a nurse's outfit and a pink-haired servant in about 80 different positions." At this point, the mental images sent Kiba, Shino, Asuma, the third, Kakashi, and Hinata hurtling backwards. As Sakura turned to face Ino, Anko turned to face Sasuke and asked, "Why are you unaffected?" According to Sasuke, "It is a waste of time." Kayla looked at him and replied, "He cut it off as a kid, and when they sewed it back on they did not hook his hormones right, so instead of being turned on by sex he is actually turned off." "Can you read anyone's mind?" Kurenai asked, glancing at Kayla. Kayla replied, "It don't work that way, all we can do is read the thoughts at the exact moment, and only if we lock eyes with them and are emotionally upset." Naruto's eye activated because he was pissed at the Hokage, so when he looked at both girls he saw their surface thoughts I was worried about was scared him, so that's why I forced mine. Anko replied, "I thought you had to remove that cloth to use the third eye." Kayla responded, "No, only when we are using the darkness flames. Naruto is even more reclusive about using it than I am. He likes to respect others' privacy, especially those he cares for." Kurenai was looking at her. After 20 minutes, everyone was roused and instructed to meet at the designated location for their mission. When Naruto met his team at the south gates, he was still a little upset. Shikamaru's gaze was fixed on the clouds while Hinata was reading a book and Choji was eating. Naruto noticed another book inside of the one she was reading. He assumed the elderly man he saw Kurenai and Asuma conversing with was the client. They began to leave after Asuma said, "Okay everyone, this is Tazana, he is our client, let's leave. The other two teams left already." "Do you think they will get married?" asked Choji, leaning over Shikamaru. "It is too distressing to contemplate," Shikamaru remarked. Choji resumed his meal. "What's up with her?" he asked, glancing at Hinata, who was flushed over something. "She made it to chapter 13 of the newest edition," Shikamaru stated. Blinking, Choji remarked, "She reads that." Shikamaru replied, "Why do you think she passed out so much in class? She's been reading it for years now." "Did you know Ino was that kinky?" Choji simply nodded. After going white for a second, Shikamaru remarked, "Remember why I say women are troublesome?" Choji replied, "Yes, you said some girl introduced you to her best friend." Shikamaru stated, "Ino's best friend is not made of flesh and bone but leather and metal." Shimaru pulled up the back of Choji's shirt and showed him a branding that read, "Ino's best friend," after Choji spat out his food. "I am scarred," Choji said. Shikamaru replied, "It's too troublesome to be scared, just run and never look back." Another fascinating discussion was going on at the same time. According to Asuma, "So what do you think?" Kurenai murmured, "I don't know, I was planning on talking to him in private, but when he is not at team training he is at his estates, and if you don't have someone who lives there's help you can't get in." According to Asuma, "You tried?" Kurenai replied, "No, Ibiki told Anko after 26 times of Sasuke trying it and she told me." According to Asuma, "So Anko knew." According to Kurenai, "She is my best friend." According to Asuma, "What about us?" Kurenai replied, "What about us? I seem to recall that you dumped me for your wife after I walked in on you. Remember, we may be friends but I don't trust you anymore. I am just glad that we never made it past kissing." "I guess you're right," Asuma sighed. Kurenai replied, "You reap what you sowed. You cheated on me. She cheated on you. At least you don't have to worry about any kids besides your nephew." Also, what about that girl you were supposed to go on a date with tomorrow, Ayame or something from the ramen stand? Kurenai said after Asuma nodded. Pale-faced, Asuma asked, how did you know about that? Kurenai continued, when a female ninja proves she cares about being a ninja, she gets a newsletter each week on the males of the village. We don't have time to mess around with cheaters, players, and losers in our line of work, so if male ninja is one of them, we know. With a smirk on her face as she walked the man. Asuma was thinking, no wonder female ninja quit going out with me. Oh well, there's always civilians. Standing beside Tazana, Naruto sighed as he sensed something in the road ahead. Turning to Tazana, Naruto commanded, go stand by Shikamaru and tell him it has not rained in days. Tazana nodded and approached Shikamaru, who nodded once before his eyes widened and then shrank back to normal. Looking to his left, Naruto noticed that both of the senseis had also picked it up. Asuma had drawn 2 trench knives, and Kurenai was making hand seals slowly. After reaching into his weapon pouch and removing a kunai, Naruto reached into another pouch and extracted a seed, which he then transformed into a rose. As they passed, he sighed and dropped the rose in the center of the 2 puddles after twirling it once and inhaling its scent. Tazana was approached by Kurenai, who said, so tell me about Wave Country. At that moment, 2 screams caught everyone's attention. Following her instincts, Kurenai had seized the client and concealed both of them in a genjutsu. Shikamaru began practicing his family's jutsu hand seals. Choji had already started teaching his family jutsu hand signs when Hinata dropped her book and used her bloodline. The second one fell out. Asuma was sweating from the sight of the trench knives and had already used his wind manipulation. He turned to see where Naruto was, but he was gone. He began scanning his surroundings when he saw a yellow blur emerge between the 2 men who were bound together by a vine. He inquired, what exactly happened? Naruto, who had at last stopped speaking, said, Hiraishin no jutsu. I pulled a switch a minute ago when everyone saw me growing the rose. Nobody saw me henge the kunai into a seed. When I dropped the rose, I also dropped the kunai. Also right beside it, when I felt the genjutsu deactivate, I activated the jutsu and appeared by the rose, grabbing it and changing it into a rose whip and tied them together before they had time to react. Then I reappeared at the Hiraishin kunai. Tazana and Kurenai appeared while Asuma was gaping, and Kurenai blinked at the explanation. Naruto knocked out the 2 nins by applying pressure to each of their necks. Subsequently, he touched the whip, turning it back into a rose, and proceeded to Kurenai, giving it to her before saying, so want to explain? I don't know what you're talking about, Tazuna remarked. Naruto let out a sigh and replied, fine, but if I find out you're lying, and someone on my team gets hurt, it will be your head when the mission is over. Tazana looked at him and replied, okay, I lied. A man by the name of Gato has taken over Wave. He sees me as a threat because if the bridge is built he will lose control. I did not want to lie to you, but the ninja who took the mission request said that the boss is not a ninja, and since I had not seen any ninja yet, don't mention them unless we encountered them. That way I would only have to pay for a C rank instead of an A rank. According to Asuma, who was this ninja? Tazana replied, I don't know his name, but he was real skinny and had black hair and black eyes and was drawing a picture in a book. He was completely emotionalist, except he mentioned something about a guy named Danzo and a demon, and said both with some emotions in his voice. With a sigh, Asuma said, sigh? Naruto looked at Asuma and said, Danzo's kid. I don't know if you remember him or not, but Danzo wanted to turn you into a secret weapon for the village. I don't know the details, but he was killed, and Sai had already been brainwashed to the point where nobody could help him. Nobody wants to work with him because he has no emotions except when it comes to you. The old man put him in the mission office to try and help him become social Aegean. With a sigh, Naruto remarked, let me guess, blames me for his father's death. According to Asuma, apparently. Let's continue, Naruto said, nodding. With the Kakashi group, they had just left the client's house and were on their way to the girl they were supposed to save, who was last known to be there. So have you picked up her scent, Kiba? Asked Kakashi. My bugs told me there is a small camp about 2 miles east of here, and there is a girl that is similar to the description of the target, Shino said after Kiba shook his head. With a sigh, Kakashi said, come on, and followed Sasuke as he took off in that direction. When Kakashi arrived with Shino and Kiba, they were taken aback by the scene. A woman was holding a crying young girl, and Sasuke had a kunai at the neck of an elderly man. Sasuke, what are you doing? Kakashi asked, glancing at the photo. Sasuke slit the old man's neck and uttered the words, killing this weakling. In order to save Sasuke's life, Kakashi rushed over, punched him in the face, and immediately began using the only healing jutsu he is familiar with. What the hell were you thinking? Asked Sasuke. According to Shino, it was not the target, you said Sasuke. He was interrupted by Shino, who said, I mentioned that there was a camp here with a girl who fit the description. I didn't say it was her. According to Kiba, you just attacked the wrong people. Kiba ran and grabbed the girl and pulled her away from the same fireball, while the yelling woman grabbed the kunai from the ground where Kakashi had struck Sasuke and charged at him. Sasuke began to perform hand seals, but was stopped by a swarm of bugs that appeared in front of the woman, holding her and pulling her away from the fireball. After halting the bleeding, Kakashi stood up, approached Sasuke, slapped him, and asked, "What do you have to say for yourself, Sasuke? Assaulting 2 civilians, you made a mistake." "I am a Uchiha." Sasuke declared it makes no difference and hurled a shuriken at the young girl, saying, "They don't deserve to live if they can't defend themselves." Kiba and the girl leapt away. "Sasuke," said Kakashi, who had had enough, "I cannot allow this to go on. You are a disgrace to the Leaf as well as a person." "I have no choice," he said, and began to attack Sasuke after avoiding the first 3 kunais that Kakashi threw and jumping out of the way of 3 fireballs that were aimed at him. A faster Kakashi punched him in the face. When he saw the Sharingan in Sasuke's eyes, Kakashi looked down at him and decided to end it quickly. He grabbed Sasuke's wrist as lightning began to form around it, and the next thing Sasuke knew, he was in pain because Kakashi had rammed his hand through his chest. "Thanks, Kakashi-sensei, but I had already decided that if you and the Dobi were going to hold me back, then I will find my strength somewhere else," said Sasuke, grinning as he rose in a puff of smoke. On a tree branch that likewise rose in a puff of smoke, Kakashi turned to face Sasuke. He said, "Kiba, can you track him?" As he turned, Kiba sniffed and remarked, "He must have switched when he left us because all I can smell are the clones. I can't smell his scent." "I can't find him anywhere either," Shino said. "He must have departed while we were preoccupied." "Let's get these people to safety and then find that girl," Kakashi said with a sigh. "Please leave us alone. We don't need your assistance," said the woman who was now holding the young girl. "I'll make sure to spread the word about the evil leaf ninjas," she said, breaking down in tears. With a sigh, Kakashi motioned for the other 2 to follow. Alongside Anko turned to Ino and asked, "Exactly what was that fantasy?" They had only just arrived in the desert and had 2 more days of walking left before they reached Suna. "Well, Ino said, flushed as Sakura put it, "it's what? If I tell you, you must wait for me to finish before you respond," Ino said. "Deal." With a sigh, Sakura said, "Deal? As Kayla put it, damn humans." Anko is the only one who doesn't understand why she said that. With a sigh, Ino remarked, "I thought that Naruto was wearing a pair of fox ears and Sakura was dressed as a nurse." Kayla said quietly, "He does." Anko was the only one who heard her, and she had a sinister expression on her face. Ino continued, "It was in a castle bedroom. Naruto was chained to a bed wearing only a pair of leather biker shorts. Candles were light all around the room. There were shurikens and kunais stuck in the walls with chains connecting each of them and flowers growing on them. There was a video camera that fed into a room of observers. I had on a set of bunny ears and a set of nipple pinchers. You had a whip and my womanhood was covered in whipped cream, which was being enjoyed while you would lightly whip me on the butt. I know a store back in Konoha that sells all of that stuff, and if I heard Kayla here say Naruto has fox ears," Anko said with a beaming expression. Sakura, who had just been attempting to determine whether she was excited or upset, suddenly revealed her chibi self and exclaimed, "Really? What do they look like? Are they furry? Can you pet them? I will kill you when this is over. As for your question, I won't tell you. Only Naruto's future wives will know," Kayla said, glancing at Anko. "You're just afraid Naruto will like me more, you ugly 3-eyed bimbo," said Ino, who was completely engrossed in her own world. "Calm down, calm down, calm down," Kayla said, stopping and grabbing her bandage on her head. After glancing at her, Ino asked, "What's wrong?" Kayla replied, "Quick, tell the eye you're sorry or it will kill you." "Why would?" Ino said when she saw a dragon of dark flame emerge from Kayla's arm. She stopped and hurriedly said, "I'm sorry. The eye is lovely, I'm sorry." The dragon flew into the air before disappearing, and Kayla let out a sigh. Sakura, a little frightened, asked, "What happened?" Kayla stated, "The eye is alive, it has feelings, and if you make it mad it will retaliate even against my will." Anko questioned, "Is Naruto the same way?" Following Kayla's nod, Anko sighed and remarked, "Come on ladies, I want to hurry back so I can show Ino that store." Ino replied, "What's the name of the store and where is it at?" Anko stated, "Pan Te Emporium. It is actually in the one place you would not think to find it. It's right beside the Academy Green building with a man having a nosebleed on the sign," Anko said as the girls turned to face her for further information. Ino said, "I remember that place. Dad told me it was a store for civilians who wanted to learn to fight." According to Sakura, my mom said the same thing. When Kayla realized what she was going to say, she stopped talking before two pairs of hands grabbed her and a voice said, "Details? I don't need them." "Naruto is," Kayla said. "Well, what do you want to know?" Kayla asked, letting out a sigh and cursing her inability to stop talking. Anko replied, "So what do you and Kurenai have coming?" Sighing, Kayla remarked, "You would not believe me." "Try me," Anko said. Kayla sighed, leaned in, and whispered in Anko's ear. Anko was sent flying backwards with a nosebleed a moment later, and Kayla said, "Lucky bastards." "What did you tell her?" asked Sakura. Kayla responded, "Let's just say I am happy he will have more than one woman in his life." Ino replied, "Well, why do you say that and how do you know exactly?" Kayla stated, "Before we came back to Konoha I took him to a hot spring on my family's land. I got an eye full of him without him knowing And, don't leave us hanging here," Sakura said. As he stood back up, Anko said, "7 in limp." Kayla stated, "And if his battles are anything like he will be in bed, he will be a stamina freak." Alongside Naruto, "Hachu, Hachu, 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 Hachu," was Naruto's sneeze response. "Are you getting sick?" Kurenai asked, glancing at him. Naruto replied, "I can't get sick, my immune system won't let me. Someone must be talking about me." "Perhaps it's one of your girlfriends," Asuma said. Naruto stated, "I never actually had a girlfriend. When I was 4 I met my first fiancé. I learned about love from her." Kurenai remarked, "What about you?" "No, I don't talk about my experiences with the women in my life. I will say that I have never done anything with anyone other than Kayla, and it could have been as simple as an embrace, so I won't tell you. I am very respectful of the feelings of the people I love." Naruto added, "I have seen a naked Kayla, but I am not a pervert. I detest perverts." Shikamaru remarked, "How can you say something perverted like that and then say you hate perverts in the same sentence? That caused everyone to face fault. That would be too much trouble." "Easy," said Naruto. "I don't have to be the biggest one you've ever seen, even though my dad and grandfather might be." Naruto halted and turned to face the western woods. When Naruto reached onto his back, grabbed the hilt of his sword, and narrowed his eyes, everyone who had been watching him talk and stopped wondering what was wrong thought that danger was imminent. Then, two figures suddenly jumped out of the tree line, where Naruto was looking frightened to death. The taller one, who was brandishing a huge sword, said, "What the hell is that thing?" The other, who appeared to be a hunter nin, did not notice the group on the road a short distance away. "I don't know, Zabuza, but it's not stopping," the hunter nin remarked. "It's coming." Naruto yelled, "Asuma, Kurenai, get the client out of here," as a 15-foot-tall black creature wearing a white mask emerged from the forest, screaming in pain and hurting everyone's ears. "This is my fight," he said, sprinting in front of the three figures. Yelling, Kurenai said, "Naruto, wait." When Zabuza heard a scream of, "Naruto, wait," he leapt back from the creature's swipe. He turned to see a figure holding his hand on the hilt of a sword. As he ran low toward them, the group he was fleeing from caught his attention, and he said, "Shit, they're here." The shorter of the two glanced in the direction and saw someone walk right in front of Zabuza. The hunter nin, oblivious to the others, appeared to be a fool for approaching that creature after more than 20 minutes of fighting. She and Zabuza had failed to seriously harm the creature. She had only 10 senbons left. She had no defense against it, not even her bloodline limit. Although Naruto had passed the two figures that had initially emerged from the woods, he was not yet worried about their presence. No, his attention was on the emerging hollow. He was the center of attention now. After screaming and reaching back, Hit lowered both of its arms to smash Naruto. Initial release. Titus was uttered by Naruto as he rolled to the side, pulled out his sword, and was instantly engulfed in a dazzling glare that caused the hollow to raise its arm in its defense. This time, no one recognized Naruto in a fighting stance when the light vanished. It appeared as though frost was dripping from the tip of his blue glow sword. They had never seen anything like this before because all the genins were unconscious when he did this the last time the sensei had, but it was different this time. It appeared as though someone else was standing there in place of Naruto. His sword was held out in front of him, pointing to his eyes and the ground. His eyes had the expression of a real swordsman. The hunter behind him and Zabuza were astounded by this person's transformation. Zabuza had only experienced the aurora of power he was releasing once he glanced at the swordsman, then at his assistant. Everyone was anticipating the next move. At last, the beast charged once more and swung its arm sideways. Naruto leapt over the next swipe after falling beneath the previous one. Swinging his sword in a downward arc 20 feet from the creature, he smirked as he jumoed backwards away from it and said, "Let's send it to the other side." "What do you say?" Titus Ice Sphere shot. A blue ball the size of a person's head then sprang out of the sword, flew in a circle, and struck the creature in the bone mask it wore. The creature screamed while holding its face as the mask began to break and it grasped at it. Guide your spirit to be judged. Naruto slammed his sword into the creature's chest as he ran at it. Light began to shoot from the creature's body, and then it burst into a dazzling flash. All that was visible to everyone when the light went out was Naruto standing there with his eyes closed and his sword in front of him. "Thank you, my friend Titus." "Release," he said, and then a second light surrounded him. His sword returned to normal, and the odd aurora that had been surrounding him vanished. His gaze returned, and he let out a sigh before turning to face the two people the creature was pursuing. "Zabuza of the Mist, what is a missing nin like you doing here, I wonder?" Asuma said as he approached. After saying, "It's none of your concern, let's go," Zabuza turned to go, but Kurenai suddenly materialized in front of him brandishing a kunai. After giving them a quick glance, Naruto said, "Senseis, let them go for now." Everyone was paying attention to this. Asuma replied, "Naruto, you know we are supposed to stop any missing nin that we encounter." Looking at the shorter of the two, Naruto remarked, "I know that, but something's wrong here. Please, as a request for me, let them go for now." "Naruto, as far as," Kurenai said. Naruto replied, "I know Kurenai, odds are you're right and they were on their way here to kill the old drunk over there, but for me please, let them go. I will take responsibility for it, just trust me on this." "Who are you, kid?" Zabuza asked. Naruto replied, "For now just call me Naruto. I know who you are, Zabuza, Demon of the Mist. I know all about the 120 ninja you killed before you were even a genin. It's not you that I am giving you a chance for now." Everyone's attention was drawn to this, and Zabuza asked, "Then why?" Naruto replied, "For her, I sense something in her that should not be there." "I'm a guy," the shorter one said. Naruto replied, "No, you're not. Go now before I change my mind." After giving a nod, Zabuza and the shorter one vanished into a pool of water. Asuma approached and replied, "Now that they are gone, mind telling us what that was about and why we let an A-class missing nin escape like that?" When she became serious, Naruto turned and remarked, You would have all died if she got serious." Kurenai replied, "What are you talking about? Are you underestimating us?" "No, I can judge pretty well how strong each of you are, but it's not a matter of what you would do or how strong you are. Kayla would be hard-pressed to fight her," Naruto said, glancing at the location where they were. "What's so special about her that you can say that so confidently?" Shikamaru asked as he and the others approached. Everyone froze in their tracks when Naruto said, "A Shinigami knows another Shinigami." According to Asuma, "What do you mean?" Naruto stated, "That creature I killed was a hollow. A weak one, but still a hollow. They're attracted to spiritual energy. Now everyone has spiritual energy, but the amount is what matters. If you used mine as a base at 100%, that hollow was only about 10% of mine. That girl, though, if she tapped into her power, would be about 40% of mine. If Asuma and Kurenai were put together, they would only be 30% of mine. No normal human has that high of spiritual energy, which means it's Retsu, pure spirit energy." Shikamaru replied, "What do you mean about a Shinigami, and how do you know so much? Besides that strange eye you have behind that bandana, you seem pretty normal." "Let's just say I am about as far from being normal as you can get," Naruto said, glancing at him. As Shikamaru put it, troublesome. On their way to their destination, Naruto sighed and said, "Well, let's continue the mission. We will worry about this later." He then walked to Tazana, grabbed him, and said, "Let's go." Asuma said, "When exactly did he become our boss?" while glancing at Kurenai. As she trailed behind the genins escorting the client, Kurenai remarked, "I don't know, but there's something he's not telling us and I mean to find out." Taking a deep breath, Asuma lit a cigarette and uttered, "For once, genius, I agree it is troublesome." Shikamaru, a few feet away, sneezed with Kakashi. Kiba and Shino were staring at Kakashi. "So we agree." Akamaru walks into camp and sneaks to where the girl is. He scratches and one of Shino's Ketsuki bugs gets on her to mark her location. Then we attack Shino, Shushins to her location and protects her while we take out the enemies. Everyone ready? Both boys gave a nod. "Good job both of you. You performed exactly as we planned. Too bad there was only one guy there and I took him out, but begs can't be chooser," Kakashi said after the little girl had fallen asleep in his arms an hour later, with Shino and Kiba by his sides. After glancing at him, Kiba remarked, "You've been hanging out with Naruto too much. It sounds like you wanted us to fight." "Maybe I was," Kakashi said alongside Anko on their way to Suna. They were now in a desert oasis. "Remind me to thank Naruto for this team arrangement. If the guys would have come, we could not have relaxed in this spring," Anko said, glancing at the girls. "Reminds me of the ones back in Makia," Kayla sighed. "What is Makia like?" Sakura asked, glancing at Kayla. "You and Naruto discuss it, but you never really describe its appearance or location." With her eyes closed, Kayla sighed and remarked, You would need to comprehend the nature of Naruto and my relationship in order to respond to that. I suppose the best way I can describe it is that the land is special. It's generally a pleasant place to live if you are cautious and mindful of your surroundings, but you will die if you are not careful. Forget about plants, animals, and other demonstrations. Oh, no, you don't, girl, finish what you were going to say, Ino said. The ties that bind women to one another are not secret. After opening her eyes, Kayla said, that includes position 35 of your little fantasy. I don't know what you're talking about, Ino said, flushed. Kayla remarked, and you said no secrets. Sakura questioned, what was that about? Nothing, Ino said. Kayla leaned back, closed her eyes once more, and asked, Sakura, is that tattoo really there? Sakura exclaimed, Ino. As she flushed, the pale Ino remarked, I never mentioned it. She read my mind, remember? Yes, Sakura remarked, but why was that on your mind? Kayla remarked, what's so funny, Anko? From what I saw from you, even where I am from, it could be considered cruel. Anko snickered. According to Anko, I had a good friend tell me everything she learned to deal with the loan lines. After giving her a quick glance, Kayla said, really, anyone who I might know? Anko replied, if things work out you might be sharing a bed with her. You're joking, right? Kayla said, blinking repeatedly. Anko stated, if he finds out her secret fetish you're in trouble. According to Kayla, and that would be, read my mind and you will know, Anko said. Kayla said, oh god, after opening her Jagan and reading Anko's thoughts, he's screwed. While Sakura and Ino were watching the two, Ino exclaimed, what? You both know about Kurenai, so you know we're talking about her. Kayla said, I can practically guarantee that you will soon experience her secret fetish, which she desires more than anything else. According to Sakura, and that would be, it's, Anko said with a sly smile. Alongside Naruto they had just arrived, but Naruto needed time to reflect, so he was sitting on a tree branch close to the client's house. If you have something on your mind, you don't have to hide, Kurenai, he said, glancing up at the sky. Upon landing on the tree branch in front of Naruto, Kurenai sighed and uttered the words, I wanted to find out what you were hiding. I think that girl with Zabuza is the other one I was supposed to marry, Naruto sighed. With a blink, Kurenai uttered, why's that? In addition to having Retsu, Naruto stated, she's roughly the right age and her hair color matches the photo I was shown when I was younger. That would only be possible for someone who has a Shinigami parent without passing away. I'm curious because she's still very much alive without having her blood tested by someone from Soul Society. I can't be positive, but the chances are good. The majority of Shinigami do not have children with regular people. Hollows can easily target them. According to what I was told, there have only been 36 documented births of a Shinigami parent and a human in the past 200 years. One of them is me. She might not be her, and I could be mistaken, although the likelihood is very low. It is possible that an unspecified birth occurred without Soul Society being aware of it. What about the other 35? Kurenai asked, is it possible that she is one of them? With a sigh, Naruto remarked, I was informed that 33 of them were born roughly 195 years ago following a battle with Quincy. I can't tell, so don't ask. A hollow received it, and another was born about 40 years ago. The girl I'm supposed to be engaged to was the last one. I understand why you did not want us to fight now, but what if they attack us later? Kurenai sighed. I'll take care of her, Naruto declared. You and Asuma can take on Zabuza, while the other three can guard the client. Nodding, Kurenai remarked, you really thought about it, huh? Kurenai closed her eyes and remarked, that feels nice. Naruto nodded and got to his feet as the wind began to blow slightly through the trees. Yes, Naruto said, nodding, the wind here is calming. Naruto leapt down after Kurenai as she began to lose her balance and fall forward, catching her as she fell. Alongside Anko, according to Ino, so she gets excited about being saved and purposely puts herself in situations where she will get hurt. Kayla asked, what will she do if she is saved? After Anko nodded her head. Well, said Anko using Naruto lemon. Naruto said, are you Auri? As they hit the ground, looking at Kurenai with concern before he was shoved against a tree and a pair of lips pressed against his. Putting his arms around her back, Naruto swung her around against a tree and gave her a passionate kiss before slowly pulling away and saying, I take it this means you want to marry me. In response, he pressed his mouth against hers, and she pulled him in closer while leaning against the tree for support. Kurenai swiftly reaches for his pants and loosens them enough to fall to the ground as Naruto reaches down under the bottom of her dress and pulls it up enough to grab her ass. The pants break apart, and Kurenai says, I think you should know that I have nay. I understand, Naruto said, placing his fingers on her lips. I'll be easy. Kurenai nodded, and Naruto used his hands to tear her underwear before carefully entering her, raising her legs as she wrapped them around him. Naruto then looked into her eyes and remarked, "I thought you." "I haven't," Kurenai stated. "I avoided being with men who didn't genuinely care about me by using toys." As he slowly pumped into her, Naruto muttered, "And you know I care how." Kurenai grinned while closing her eyes and savoring the sensation, saying, "You have always been considerate of my feelings. You defended me against the Hokage, and see you saved me just now, which, I should say, piques my interest." She moaned as Naruto pinched her ass and said, "Promise me." Kurenai opened her eyes, turned to face him, and uttered the words, "What?" In order to make his point, Naruto pumped hard as he said, "Promise me you won't do anything that will ever actually hurt you to get excited. I'm sure I can find something to do that for you anyways." Turned on by this, Naruto let his tongue enter her mouth and explore as he started pumping faster, feeling his own climax approaching. Kurenai, who had just felt him hit the back of her, said, "I think you already," and had to kiss him to stop herself from screaming in pleasure as the waves of climax washed over her. The accelerated pace soon caused Kurenai to feel another climax coming, so she withdrew and locked eyes with Naruto. Sensing his approach as well, they both climaxed by biting into their own lips to prevent themselves from screaming with pleasure so they could gaze into each other's eyes. Naruto carefully helped her stand again after they had both calmed down, making sure she could do so. Put an end to Lemon after fixing her dress and picking up her ripped underwear. Kurenai leaned down and said, "I love you." According to Naruto, as do I. Hime. With a flush, Kurenai asked, "So was this your first?" According to Naruto, "No, but it was not any less special to me." Naruto said, "So what do we do now?" Kurenai was happy that it was still special but sad that she wasn't his first. Kurenai replied, "Well, we could either act like nothing happened until the wedding or we can let everyone know. Let's keep it secret for the time being." Naruto said, "I don't want to complicate things at this time, not because I'm ashamed or anything. Despite the fact that our marriage was arranged, the thought of us becoming involved now might not sit well with them. The council will be held accountable for pressuring the matter if we keep it a secret." "Why did you say council with disgust just now?" asked Kurenai. "Before mom killed one of them, they attempted to kill me more times as a child than I would like to admit," Naruto remarked. "I don't yet trust them." Kurenai nodded and continued, "So you don't want them to find out that we are already together and use it as some kind of power chip, huh? You know politics better than you let on," Naruto remarked, glancing at her. "I have had my share of run-ins with the council," Kurenai said, nodding. "Now who sounds disgust with the council?" said Naruto. "Would you mind explaining?" Kurenai stated, "The council was making decisions about missions last year while the Hokage was away for a treaty discussion with Rain Country. A few villages away from the Leaf. They wanted me to work undercover for a brothel. They put me in jail because I refused to comply. Ibiki and Enko made sure I was safe despite being confined. Ibiki had his own private guards keeping an eye on me, and Enko had 6 pit vipers sitting in my cage per my orders. Upon his return, the Hokage dismissed 2 council members. The 2 were found to have a connection to the brothel and merely desired to have sex with some of the village's female ninja. Thank God the Council of Soul Society ain't like that," Naruto sighed. "I do have a question for you," Kurenai said. "Any kids we may have, what are they going to be? If that's what you're worried about, they'll look human." Naruto sighed. "I can't guarantee that they have the Jagan eye, but they might. Other than that, I could not tell you because I am the first ever with 3 backgrounds like this," Naruto said, pulling his hair up as Kurenai giggled at the pointed-looking ears. "They might also have these." Kurenai replied, "I guess I can be happy as long as they are healthy." Naruto replied, "That should not be a problem with my healing ability." When they eventually returned to Tazana's house, Naruto opened the door, and they were greeted by a hilarious sight. Shoji had dropped his bag of chips, and Tazana said, "Lucky kid." Hinata was on the ground with a bloody nose. Shikamaru was muttering something unruly while staring at the ground, and Tazuna's daughter Tsunami was laughing while being held by Asuma, who was smoking a cigarette. "Huh," said Naruto. "According to Asuma, I knew you had it in you, kid." "What are you talking about, Asuma?" Kurenai asked. According to Asuma, we got a detailed report about the fun until it became too much for Hinata. Pale-faced, Kurenai turned to face Hinata and asked, "What did you do?" "It's annoying, but Asuma wanted to know what was going on with Naruto, so he had Hinata tell us everything that was happening in case Naruto did something like attack you." Shikamaru said. "I'm not sure why he believed that, but Hinata fainted when you wrapped your legs. If everyone in the house had been smart, they would have fled at that moment, but unfortunately, they were too busy laughing to notice Kurenai's seals. For the sake of my sanity, let's assume that Shikamaru received a new logo," Choji shed 15 pounds, and Asuma got a mohawk. When Kurenai was done, Naruto turned to face her and asked, "Where did you learn to use a rose whip?" "I discovered that if I channel chakra into that rose you gave me, it can transform back into a whip," Kurenai said. "However, that was my first use of it." "You need to meet Kurama, he is always looking for new ways to use rose whips," Naruto said, nodding. Kurenai let out a sigh and declared, "I am going to bed." When Kurenai reached the stairs, Naruto nodded, and she turned to say, "You joining me?" With a smile, Naruto said, "You need an answer." He then went to kiss her and escorted her upstairs. The second thing a Uchiha learned after learning their name was a map to the place he was going. Sasuke had been running for nearly a day now. Remembering the clan's secrets and knowing how to use them today would mark the real start of his retaliation against his brother in the Leaf Village for not stopping Itachi from killing his family. After waking up and discovering that a stunning red-eyed woman was cuddling him again, Naruto sighed, made a clone to take his place, and prepared for the day. When he noticed that it was 5 in the morning, he quietly went downstairs and crept out of the house, taking his sword off his back, swinging it downward to open a portal, and passing through it. At the sight of Soul Society in all its splendor, Naruto grinned and sighed. He began to move toward the central tower when he sensed 2 signatures coming his way. After stopping and bracing himself, Naruto was hit on the head and embraced for a few seconds before looking up and remarking, "It's still not as hard as Mom's dad." With a laugh, Arashi remarked, "I detest the fact that you are my superior." "In any case, that's not why I came here," Naruto said. "On my way to Wave, I collided with a C-class hollow." "What's a big deal about that?" asked Annette. "According to Naruto, I think I might have met her." "According to Arashi, her who?" Naruto replied, "The other girl besides Kur-chan and K-Heim." Annette responded, "You think you found Crystal Snow? Wait a minute, Kur-chan, what's her whole name?" "Kurenai is one of my senseis, so it's possible." Naruto stated. "She has not yet used her Retsu, but it is powerful enough to draw a hollow, and she is currently with a missing nin named Zabuza." As Annette put it, "So what do you plan to do?" "I am still on the mission right now, and the fact that we first met Zabuza leads me to believe that he is pursuing our client." Naruto stated. "I was on my way to the central tower to ask someone to watch this girl until we can verify my suspicions because I don't want the others to know about everything." "I should warn you about something," Arashi said, nodding. "After that hollow in Rain Country, we lost 6 more Shinigami. We don't know anything more about it. We only know that every Shinigami who has encountered it has perished. Until we have more information on it, don't send anyone from our division after it," Naruto said, nodding. "It is concerning to remove 7 Shinigami in less than 2 months. With a nod, Arashi asked, "So how do you like her?" "She's nice, looks good, and is unique," Naruto remarked. Annette replied, "Is she the woman with red eyes I met before?" After giving it some consideration, Naruto remarked, "I know she has red eyes and I have not seen anyone else that has them in the village, so probably. So if this girl you found really is the other, you will be getting married soon," Annette said with a smile. According to Naruto, after the Chunan exams. "Don't you think that's rushing it a little?" Arashi and Annette both blinked. According to Naruto, the council and Hokage. "What have those idiots done now?" asked Annette, with a somber expression. Naruto stated, "They found a scroll Dad left detailing who I was engaged to and who his parents were." "I thought that thing was destroyed," Arashi said, going pale. "How did they discover it?" "Some idiot broke into the Hokage's office to steal the forbidden scroll, but instead they found that," Naruto remarked. "The Hokage blackmailed me into doing him a favor after the council learned about the majority of it from the investigation," says Annette. "What kind of favor?" Naruto stated. "He wants info on Orochimaru and I gave him some memory moss to spy for him." "Keep an eye out for your grandmother," Arashi said with a sigh. "Her strength is demonic." "Well, I need to head to the council and get back to my team," Naruto said, nodding. "We will come and watch you Chunin exams when you make it to the finals," Annette said, nodding. "Don't you mean if?" Naruto remarked with a laugh. Arashi remarked, "You really believe you won't make it?" According to Naruto, "My luck is legendary, Dad." Arashi laughed and remarked, "Your grandmothers are too. At least you benefit when others undervalue you." Before leaving, Naruto gave his parents a hug and nodded. Alongside Anko, Suna said, "Okay, the first thing we will do is visit the K's cage and ask to stay the night to rest before leaving again tonight. Kayla will look around for her target." The Anko team had just entered Suna. Sakura replied, "How will you be able to tell if this guy really does have a demon in him?" Kayla followed Anko after saying, "We each know our own." "What do you think that means?" Ino asked, glancing at Sakura. Sakura simply shrugged and went with the others. Alongside Kakashi at the moment, the three men were sprinting as quickly as they could back toward the fire country. The cause let's assume that this client will no longer send Konoha any missions. The civilians that Sasuke assaulted turned out to be the client's cousins. He actually gave them the option to leave with their money or their lives after learning what had happened. As a fool, Kiba claimed to want the promised sum of money. That brings them to their current predicament. 200 mercs are pursuing them as they leave the area. As he ducked a kunai that was aimed at him, Kakashi sighed and said, "Remind me to kill Sasuke when we see him, Aegean." Kiba was howling and running as quickly as he could while Shino simply nodded. He was howling because Akamaru had refused to let go after biting his ass for being a fool. He was avoiding weapons and jumping trees while a small 10-pound dog was gripping his butt cheek and refusing to let go. It didn't help that every time they landed on a new tree branch, the dog was scratching the back of his legs. Alongside Kurenai, after slowly opening her eyes and feeling something warm, Kurenai sighed and said, "Good morning, Naru-kun." "He's not here right now," said the Naruto she was holding. Kurenai sat up, blinked, and exclaimed, "What?" Naruto stated, "He's visiting his parents in the council right now. He said he will be back as soon as he can. Needs to report about the hollow he killed." With a sigh, Kurenai asked, "So what are you?" As Naruto put it, "Kage Bunshin." Kurenai replied, "Is it true that whatever a Kage Bunshin learns the original learns?" Naruto replied, "Yes, but why?" Before pulling away and punching the clone to dispel it, Kurenai leaned over and whispered something in his ear. "Yes, that's correct, sir. It was a C-class hollow and I am sure it was after her Irie," Naruto said, his eyes glazing over as he stood in front of the council in Soul Society. The council looked down at Naruto. "Is everything okay, Captain Trinity?" asked the chairman. Naruto looked up and blushed. "Yes, sir. When I came to report here, I left a Kage Bunshin with my team to keep an eye on them for me. It just dispelled to deliver a message to me from my team. It's nothing of concern. Just training schedule. Anyways, I request that the council checks into this matter for me or give me authorization to bring her to be tested." The chairman glanced around and replied, "I believe that would be possible. I will send a net down to keep an eye on her along with Kazama. Between them, they should have no trouble looking into this matter. Thank you for notifying us of this development." Naruto replied, "Of course, sir. If you would excuse me, sir, my absence with my team will become more evident if I don't return soon." The leader said, "Good luck, Naruto. I have been receiving reports of a few matters I may have to have you look into soon, so be ready." Naruto gave a nod and walked away. Following his departure, a council member remarked, "You think he should know what we found out?" The chairman took a breath and replied, "Not yet. If that info is correct, he is the only one who can stop it and he will need help. For now, let's let him enjoy living and get stronger. Have all Shinigami avoid that area. We may have to get their help." A member of the council asked, "Sir, surely you're not actually considering using them? What about the others we have looked into?" As a gasp went through the assembly. The chairman returned to his seat and stated, "They have agreed to help, but only because of Trinity. If it was not for him, they would have refused. We will also be bound by this deal for the next 100 years because of our mistake." Upon glancing down at the council members, a white-haired woman said, "Should they know?" The chairman continued, "When the time comes, as it stands now, Trinity is our only true chance to stop it. The others who were strong enough to defeat it have either retired, died, or are too old to deal with it properly. It seems they have been destined to meet always." A figure sitting in a cave in Rain Country, gazing around, thought, "Soon, I shall return." Naruto was greeted by his team and a smirking Kurenai as he entered Wave Country and opened the door. "Did you get it?" she asked. Naruto said, "Yeah, I got it all right. I promise you, if it's the last thing I do, I will get you for that," as everyone turned to stare at her. According to Kurenai, "My threat still stands." Asuma replied, "I don't know what you both are talking about, but we need to get the client to the bridge." According to Naruto, "We might have company soon." As everyone stared at him, he remarked, "My folks might be dropping by to deal with our little problem from yesterday." A pale Asuma uttered the words, "Arashi going to be coming back?" Shikamaru replied, "That's it. I have been trying to piece this together, but when you say your dad is coming back from the grave and will be here soon, it is so troublesome. I need answers." "Do you know what a Shinigami is?" asked Naruto. With a nod, Shikamaru said, "I am one, and right now both my parents are also." Naruto then continued. He mumbled something unruly as his eyes grew as large as a silver dollar. According to Choji, what exactly is a Shinigami? According to Shikamaru, a death god. Hinata passed out after giving her a quick glance. Naruto asked, "Okay, why did she faint this time?" "She's a troublesome woman," Shikamaru remarked. As Naruto put it, "Yeah, especially when they use that." It's your fault for leaving before I woke up, Kurenai remarked. Naruto replied, do you know I was in a meeting when that popped into my head? What exactly did you do to him, Kurenai? Asuma asked. Hinata sighed and stood up. Kurenai pulled a joke on him. He left a cage bunshin in the room with me and snuck off. I got my revenge by saying something that was a lie but I knew would mess with his head. After giving Hinata a quick glance, Choji asked, so what was it this time? After taking a quick look around, Hinata leaned over to Choji, who was eating a chip, and whispered something that caused him to cough and spit out his chips. Asuma wiped the chips from his face and asked, what was that for? With a glance at Hinata, Choji asked, are you serious? After Hinata nodded and clasped her fingers together, Shikamaru remarked, so what was it? It's too troublesome to guess. As they left, Asuma sighed and remarked, so what was the joke, Kurenai? Naruto replied, it was not funny. Someday yes, but I hope to wait until after the wedding for that. It's not like it would happen today anyways. Chill out, Kurenai said, turning to face the back. Would you just spill it? Asked Tazana. Kurenai chuckled as he said, well, you know how what a cage bunshin learns, the real one learns when it is destroyed. When his clone told me he left this morning, I leaned over and said something that get his attention. As the bridge approached, Asuma remarked, and that would be. Kurenai replied, why are you all so serious? I just told him I am. Kurenai responded, yes, Hinata, I told him I was. Wait a minute, how did you know that? As Hinata interrupted, yelling, pregnant eep, and covering her mouth. Everyone was staring at Hinata when she said, I had my bloodline on this morning looking at something getting red and I saw you had two chakras. Now one was your normal and one small one in your belly. They heard a thud behind the group. All of a sudden they discovered Naruto unconscious on the ground. According to Asuma, damn, you work quick, troublesome woman. You are as bad as Ino, Shikamaru remarked. Ino's not bad, Hinata said, covering her mouth once more. Choji replied, am I the only person Ino has not been with? Kurenai slapped Asuma on the back of the head after she said, welcome to my world. Alongside Anko, the Kazekage had just accepted Anko's delivery of the scroll and had consented to their overnight stay. They heard screaming coming from down the road as they were making their way to the hotel, where the Kazekage had given them a room. Several people were running toward and past the girls. Kayla replied, I have not seen someone act like that since my uncle decided to cook. What's so bad about that? Ino sneezed. She said, he burnt down 4 miles of forest as well as the kitchen. What do you think they were running from? Asked Sakura. Being idiots. So what are Konoha ninja doing in Suna? Said a tall, blonde girl wearing a fan on her back. Sakura said, we delivered a scroll to the Kazekage. He allowed us to stay here to rest before returning, as the girls gazed at her. The young man replied, you must have done something to make him happy. Father is not usually kind enough to let foreign ninjas stay in the village, even allies. Anko replied, you're the Kazekage daughter. I thought he only had a son. The brunette laughed and said, Konoha must suck gathering info. I am his eldest daughter. I have 2 brothers, Kankuro and Gaara. By the way, my name is Tamari. Anko replied, I am Anko, this is Ino, Sakura, and Kayla. Tamari replied, 3 female ninja on the same team must have a shortage of males. Ino replied, actually we are part of a group team. We just got divided up by our team captain to do 3C missions. Since we each have skills with foreign customs, we were chosen for this mission. Tamari replied, makes sense. So any good-looking guys in your village, or are they all perverts like here? According to Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke-kun is very cute. According to Ino, a few others are also good-looking, Shikamaru and Naruto. Kayla replied, leave Naruto-kun out of this. I already have to share him with 2 other women. Tamari questioned, why is that? Kayla replied, let's just say he is the last of his clan and he has to restore it. Tamari responded, really? I thought I knew all the clans in Konoha to prepare for the Chunan exams, but the only one I heard was near extinction was the Uchiha. But Sakura here said his name was Sasuke, so what clan is he from? Well, I don't know if, Kayla said. She was interrupted by Sakura, who stated, Kazama clan. But somehow he is related to Tsunade of the Sannin, so that means he is also related to the 1st and 2nd Hokage. You know you're going to get into trouble, Sakura. Anko said the Hokage wanted to wait until after the tests to inform everyone about that. With a head rub, Sakura uttered the words, I forgot. Kazama, I know I heard that name before but I can't place it, Tamari said, blinking. It's the Yondaime Hokage's name, Sakura remarked. He's related to the Yellow Flash, Tamari said, raising an eyebrow. Kayla gave Sakura a stern look as she sighed and replied, yes. You know my dad would be thrilled to hear about this, Tamari said, do you want to join us for dinner this evening? We wouldn't mean to impose, Anko stated. The cage is most likely occupied. My father probably is, but let me tell you something. Tamari said, I'll stop by your hotel room and let you know by 5 o'clock this evening if he is as interested as I believe he will be. Deal? With haste, Ino said. Deal? Tamari turned to go after saying, good. What do you think you were doing, Sakura and Ino? Anko asked after she left. I was being friendly. Why? Sakura asked. What about you? Asked Anko, who wanted to yank out her hair. Ino stated, Kayla would have an opportunity to complete her mission for Naruto if we were invited. This will give her a chance, but I'm still not sure how she'll manage. How did I get into this mess? Anko sighed. I just want to eat my dango and touch a few prisoners. Put an end to my sensei. That's a lot to ask, but no, a pink fangirl, a blonde dominatrix, a lesbian, a lazy genius, an eating machine, a dog boy in need of a bath, a bug boy, an avenger, a demon, and a fucking death god who is both a demon and a human must all be involved in the team I picked. Why can't I know normal people? She asks, leaving 3 girls in disbelief as she leaves for the hotel room. Sakura replied, okay, bug boy is Shino, dog boy is Kiba. I guess I am the fangirl. Ino would be the dominatrix, who is the lesbian. With a flush, Ino uttered, Hinata. In response, Sakura said, no way, how do you know? Believe me, Ino said. Shoji is an eating machine, and Shika would be the lazy one, but I doubt she's a genius. What did she mean when she described Naruto and you, Kayla, even though Sasuke would be an avenger? Don't worry about it, Kayla said, trying to hide the truth. I believe she views our Jagan eyes as demons. Sakura replied, well, I can understand that, but what about the death god thing? Naruto's has killed before. Kayla said she probably believes he must be skilled at it because he had to do it at a young age, but she is still lying. All right. Let's go, Ino said. I have sand where it shouldn't be. Sakura replied, maybe we could ask that Tamari girl how they deal with that problem here. Ino replied, yeah, I'll sit back and watch you ask that one forehead. As Sakura put it, I will anopig. Kayla walked away after saying, damn it. Naruto was sitting on a bed when he woke up, moaned, and looked around. He went downstairs to find Tsunami drinking tea at the table, and upon getting up, he discovered that he was in the room he and Kurenai had occupied the previous evening. Saying, hello, what happened? Naruto said. I am not sure myself, Tsunami said with a smile. You were brought back by one of your teammates, who reported that you had passed out. With a nod, Naruto asked, where is everyone? Tsunami stated, father and the rest of your team are at the bridge, Inari is in the basement. After nodding, Naruto heard what sounded like an explosion coming from the basement, so he bolted there, saw smoke rising from a table, heard coughing, and saw Inari rising from the floor. What are you doing down here? Inari asked, turning to face Naruto as he cleared his throat with his arms crossed. According to Naruto, I heard what sounded like an explosion and came to see what was happening. Inari replied, it's none of your business. Why don't you go play ninja at the bridge? You won't be able to do anything against Gato. Naruto replied, and is that what you were working on down here? Yes, I plan to blow up Gato and his men. I found out where they are staying and I plan to kill them for killing Dad, Inari said with a snort and crossed arms. Sighing, Naruto remarked, so you think that going and killing Gato will make things better? It can't make it worse, Inari stated. Naruto comes over and hits him in his head before saying, you're an idiot. You got one life and you are going to waste it like this, getting killed and leaving your grandpa and mother to suffer alone. Suppose you do kill Gato. Then what? Your mother would be heartbroken because you would be a killer. Could you still look at yourself in the mirror afterwards? Inari replied, what about you? You're a ninja. You kill people. What's the difference? Naruto stated, I only kill to protect. You want to kill for revenge. That's the difference, dipshit. Listen. I agree. Gato needs to die. Hell, I should kill him myself, but that won't solve the problem. Look at your country. From what I was told and seen, your country needs something else besides the death of Gato. Do you know what that is? Inari sarcastically remarked, no, what? Oh, wise ninja. Naruto strikes him in the head and says, hope. If you people have hope, Aegean, then they would not need us to stop Gato. Your grandfather realizes this. His bridge is hope for your country. Instead of trying to make a bomb to kill Gato, find a way to help your mom and grandfather bring hope back to your village, or the next time some greedy little bastard like Gato comes, you will be right back where you are now. Looking into Inari's face, Naruto hoped his words would be helpful. Getting up and leaving the basement, he sighed and said, if you will excuse me, I need to go see a woman about karma. You should never joke like that or it will come back and bite you in the ass. Alongside Anko wasn't feeling well. She had to travel to Suna, which is located in the middle of the desert, first. She then finds herself stuck with a girl who can't keep her mouth shut and has shit for brains. She then receives an invitation to supper with the Cage, for whom they are on a covert spying mission. When she finally arrives at her hotel room, she finds that all of the showers require 2 people to use them in order to conserve water. Finally, this desolate village has no idea what dango is. She is currently sitting on the hotel couch and gritting her teeth while a foolish genin from Suna tries to convey that the Cage has agreed to join them for dinner this evening. His question is whether he wants either of Suna's favorite foods, scorpion shish kebabs or snake sushi. With a glance in his direction, Anko said, "If you don't mind, I will take bread and water." To everyone else, it sounded like chalk and glass. After a key spike that almost caused him to urinate, the genin hurried away. "You can relax, I don't think he meant to say it," Kayla said, turning to face her. Anko replied, "Whether he meant it or not, I don't like for strangers to know that." Ino commented, "I still don't see what's so bad about him seeing a tattoo. According to Sakura, you would if you saw where it was at." "Where?" Ino asked. "Drop it," Anko said. "According to Kayla, you did shave to get that right." Anko replied, "Remind me to kill you when we get back." "So it's on your leg, big deal," Ino said. "It's not on her leg, it's up a little," Sakura stated. Anko replied, "Stupid Suna and Thier stupid showers. First we have to share a shower, then a stupid genin lets himself in and did a room-to-room search." Kayla replied, "I don't see Sakura throwing a fit over it." Anko replied, "Sakura hid behind me so he did not see her. Where were you and Ino anyways?" Kayla replied, "Since we already had our shower we were looking around town for a little while." Anko let out a sigh. "Well, you heard the boy, we will have an escort pick us up in an hour. Let's get ready and try to remember what is supposed to be village secrets." A few servants escorted them from the hotel to the Cage's home, where they were seated at a long table. An hour later the Cage and his family entered after being given some water. Kayla instantly tensed up and made herself loosen up. The Cage replied, "It's a pleasure to see you, Aegean, and I would like to thank you for accepting my daughter's offer for dinner." "It was our pleasure, Cage-sama," Anko remarked. "Just call me Callus, there is no need for formality tonight," the Cage said. Anko replied, "Very well, Callus, on behalf of my team I would like to thank you for dinner." The Cage said, "My daughter told me a very interesting bit of information earlier. Is it true that the Yondiami has a son alive now?" As the servants began bringing out food. "Yes," Anko replied. "I never knew he had a wife. Is she still alive?" the Cage asked. Kayla replied, "Yes, though she lives outside the village and their wedding was a secret only a few knew of." Callus replied, "I understand, he did have several enemies and Altamari also tells me that he is related to the first and second Hokage and that he is the last of his clan, correct?" Kayla replied, "For now, yes, he is engaged to 3 different women right now, a ninja from Konoha, a female from the same place his mother is from, and myself, based on a certain political situation that I won't go into details of." The Cage nodded and continued, "I understand and all, I just was curious because I myself have been looking into a political marriage with the Uchiha to restore his clan. I was just wondering if there was another option." Ino and Sakura both gasped but said nothing. Anko replied, "I am afraid none of us could really tell you much about the politics of a political marriage, as even Kayla here is from a unique rule from her home country. You would have to speak with the Hokage and the council about that." Callus replied, "If this Kazama is related to the first and second Hokage, does he have either of their bloodlines, I wonder?" "Sorry, sir, that is classified," Kayla said. Callus replied, "I am sorry, I just was trying to do what was best for Suna, I meant no disrespect." Anko replied, "Callus, I am sorry to cut the evening short, but we plan to leave before dawn to try to make it across the main desert before the true heat of the day hits." The Cage replied, "Very well, and thank you for the company. I must also be going as I have a meeting later this week with the Otokage." "I had not heard of that village before," Sakura remarked. The Cage responded, "I would be surprised if you had. It's a new village in Rice Country. In fact, I have only met with a few representatives of this village myself. Well, I would hate to keep you any later, so I wish you a good night and a safe trip home," and he left the room. Sakura replied, "Tamari, before you go I would like to thank you for inviting us, and also if you could answer a question for me." As she turned to face her brothers, Tamari said, "No problem, if I can I will answer anything." Sakura replied, "Exactly how do you keep sand from getting in sensitive areas?" Tamari looked up and replied, "Oh, I understand. The truth is that all female civilian and ninja of the sand know how to get by that problem." According to Sakura, and that is, Tamari replied, "I will tell you only if you introduce me to both Sasuke and this Kazama guy when I come to the Leaf in a few months for the Chunan exams." "I don't know," Sakura said, turning to face the smirking Ino, who replied, "Deal, but let me introduce you to Naruto first." It's easy, all you need to do is channel chakra to those areas and create a chakra bubble around it CYA in the leaf, Tamari said as she left after Kayla growled. Anko grinned since she was so well versed in chakra control and knew she could pull that off aside from the fact that the Hokage had helped him with the Naruto scroll. Kayla also grinned because she knew Sakura and Ino didn't. Her thoughts were, try to pimp my man. The first group elite team had returned to Konoha and was in the Hokage office. It did not make the Hokage happy. No, pissed would be the best word to describe him at the moment. The Hokage replied, so let me get this straight, Sasuke not only attacked innocent civilian repeatable, he also defected and attempted to kill Leaf Nins. Yes, sir, I should also mention that his Sharingan has also activated, Kakashi sighed. The third replied, very well, I am going to put him as a missing nin of the leaf to be captured alive if possible. Kakashi, I want you to continue training these two so that way the loss of one member won't affect much. After giving a nod, Kakashi went to the training ground with the two boys. I'm sorry to bother you gentlemen, I was looking for a teammate of yours named Sasuke. He wanted to borrow some scrolls from me and I got them ready, said a boy with glasses and gray hair as he passed them on their way. Kiba left after saying, keep your scrolls buddy. Sasuke defected from the village. Kakashi walked away after saying, sorry about that, it was very difficult mission for us all. Shino was gone already. With a sly smile behind his glasses, the gray-haired boy said, Orochimaru will be most interested in this development. He hurried off to notify his master. When Naruto reached the bridge, his group was seated there. Observing the bridge's construction, Naruto decided to have a little fun and made 10 clones, 5 of whom were girls and 5 of whom were boys, all of whom resembled Kurenai. As he stepped out onto the bridge, he made them wait. Naruto said, so how's everyone doing? As he arrived at his team. It's troublesome, but the work is going fairly well, Shikamaru remarked. Asuma replied, you okay? You took a pretty big lump on the head back there. Naruto replied, yes, I just was unprepared for that news with our relationship just starting. I am happy, but I would also have liked to know Kurheim better. I'm sorry, Naruto, I never expected that to happen, Kurenai said as she approached him. Naruto stopped her with a kiss, and when he broke up with her, he said, if this is how things were supposed to happen, then I am happy as long as we love each other and our child are healthy. After blushing, Kurenai sensed a tug on her leg. She saw a little girl, perhaps 4 years old, with red eyes and blonde hair. When she looked down reaching for Kurenai, the girl said, Mommy. Suddenly a group of children singing, Mommy was heard from behind everyone, and 9 other kids, all different but all similar to each other, were holding a banner over their head and it said, World's Best. As everyone started to perspire, Kurenai remarked, I'm not your mommy. 10 Narutos were revealed, and they all went up in smoke after the kids said, we know. What was that? Kurenai asked Naruto as she turned to face him. Naruto extended his hand and said, truce, giving you a little payback. She accepted Kurenai's hand when she said, truce. It was actually a good thing that I was back at the house, Naruto stated. Inari, Tazuna's grandson, has the potential to become a demolition specialist. Asuma questioned, why do you say that? According to Naruto, he was making a bomb to kill Gato. Everyone, even Tazuna, was in disbelief. Kurenai uttered, what happened? He does not yet have the proper amount of ingredients, Naruto remarked in order to get him to think. I spoke with him and gave him some advice. Really, that's all any of us could do. Since it looks like we have a few hours of work left, you need some help with the bridge, Tazuna, Naruto said, glancing up at the sky. Sure, Tazuna replied, but how much can one person do? Who said anything about one person? Chuckled Naruto after hearing. Kagebunshin no Jutsu, 100 Narutos showed up and got to work on the bridge. Asuma glanced over and replied, Choji, you also help with moving material. Shikamaru work on organizing and light work. Hinata, I want you to help with getting everyone water and keep an eye out for anyone who should not be here. With a nod, they all went to work.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.